What up, what up, what up? Oh man. What's up, guys? We are back. It is the big day today. We got the patch notes for 0.5. And you know what that means. It's another season, another chance to play Twister. And a little birdie told me that we're looking pretty good this league. Not in any sort of crazy special way. I think it's just one of those weird things where people finally caught on to Twister. It's basically the same amount of power that it's had this whole time. So, if people now just suddenly mysteriously realize it's one of the very best skills in the game, who am I to argue with that? I mean, that's the way I've felt since 0.2. Anyway, cool to see people finally seeing the light, but I'm not aware of a single really negative thing that has happened in the patch notes, or else that would have come barreling down in our Discord right away. Today we're going to go over the patch notes first, and we'll go over them in full. I'll kind of make some marks about it. Got some video ideas I'm coming out with. I still need to sort of figure out exactly how I want to do my videos. I really, really, really liked how last league in PoE 1 I sort of put out some videos, starting with the sort of teaser trailer to the build that I want to run. Actually, a little behind schedule on that because I've been so ensconced with racing that I haven't really fleshed out, the early in-game build and gotten footage for that, and had all that stuff done. But that's fine. We can crunch it, I think. Let's see the comments. I'm going to be reading a lot of comments. Your guys' role in this stream is more important than ever. You're going to help me figure out problems. We're going to solve the build issues in advance. You guys are playing a big role today, so hope you're up to the task. Can I keep this notepad? Why can't I? Okay. Am I going to be reading everything, boss man? Painting the house? Yeah, kind of. I mean, I'm not going to go over, I'm not going to literally read everything, but we'll kind of go over it all. Salvo function is the same, but considering how much time it takes to get the seals, I wouldn't say it's buffed. I mean, it's like one seal every second instead of two every 2 seconds. That's technically a buff, because if you go 5 seconds instead of getting 4 seals, you get 5 seals. Best change to me is resistance swapping, massive win. That is kind of nice. Yeah, I did hear about that. Heard about that. All right, we're gonna go over these patch notes. Sorry, I might be body blocking some of this. I'll keep this in mind. We have content update 0.5, Return of the Ancients, Runes of the Alder League. First remarks are just about the league itself. Okay, obvious things are obvious here. In each area of the Runes of Alder League, we'll find a remnant craft. Yep, okay, that's just words to describe the league mechanic. As far as I understand Expedition, it's basically just like a massive expedition rework or something like that. Involving like ships and... oh, it's Boat League, I guess. I haven't heard anybody say that. Boat Leagues. Boat League. Are you guys excited for Boat League? That's a PoE 1 meme. Yeah, I don't think we know really what all the power from the league mechanic is going to be as of yet. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this stuff is out. Maybe it's buried in PoE 2DB. New in-game story. Alright, Kingsmark. Yeah, I'm not... I mean, of all the things coming in the new league, the new league mechanic is probably the thing I'm least excited for, to be honest. I mean, endgame changes I'm excited for, but specifically the league mechanic? Anybody here excited about the league mechanic? Robert Alvarez with the sub, 4 months. Thank you, thank you. Hopefully we can get some subs today. Okay. Origins of Divinity, the Endgame overhaul. Probably most of this is a little bit redundant to read because it's basically just, I mean, it's better to see it than read it, and you got to see it in the reveal. So, yeah, this is just talking about, again, more league specific things. Leagues are basically two things at once, aren't they? That's what they call them. Like, we don't even know the names. It's about the ancients, and then it's also about like the Kalgur. They're like two separate things, kind of. New pinnacle boss. Okay, if I'm skimming over something that's important, let me know, guys. This is not stuff that's super important to me. I'd rather look at like things related to builds, and I don't know, maybe very definitive. Well, anything related to builds, really. When it comes to like endgame currency earning stuff, I kind of rather just sort of discover that on the go in real time when the league starts. Masters of the Atlas. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. I'll have to watch the reveal again before things starts. Get extra player power. Picking a master, and you can switch between them, I remember. Okay, the new in-game mechanics, Delirium, Expedition, or, you know, Delirium, Abyss, Breach, they can all be found near your starting location in the new mapping system. I think Corruption still exists. Additional mods on Jewels with Liquid Emotions. Nice. From magic to rare. 3 modded jewels will be popular this league. Basic jewels. Okay, just talking about Breach. You know, we got the new Foulborn tree thing. New ring bases, belt, amulet bases. Catalysts, quality to jewels. Okay. There's a lot of borrowed power, extra borrowed power. Ritual, things people excited about. Ritual as far as the rework. Twister is phenomenally strong in Ritual. I mean, it's good for everything. I mean, it's great for Breach. It's great for Delirium. Great for Ritual. But it's like best on Ritual. Seal game mod on ring seems mandatory with salvo change. Yeah, I caught that on the reveal, I remember. Fate of the Vaal moving to core. Now, I've talked about this. I know that the Vaal Temple has been nerfed, but I just have a funny feeling that they were going to nerf it in a way like they did, where people would perceive it as being nerfed to the ground, but actually there will be like a new way to build one, and it'll still be incredibly strong. I have a funny feeling that Temple is still going to be best in slot mechanic for farming currency. I have a funny feeling it's going to be. Even if you can't do snaking and stuff, like, I mean, you know, like, Temple dropped like 10 times more loot than everything else. So what if you can't snake? So let's say, you know, Temple was nerfed by 80%. Well, if it started off dropping 10 times more loot than everything else at the top end, it was nerfed by 80%. It's still twice as good as everything else. You know what I mean? Like, so even if they nerf it to the ground, it's still better than everything else, probably. Unless the end game is crazy bad, you know, or crazy, or not bad, but like really just tons of loot and stuff. This patch, Twister is a god tier build. Yeah. Fubgun said your name. Am I supposed to be excited about that? I actually want to see, I want to read the Vaal things here. I want to see what it says specifically, because I'm specifically interested in this mechanic. So we're going to read the Vaal changes. Fate of the Vaal has been moved to the core game. Your first encounter. When you first encounter a series of 6 beacons in Act 3, energize them to obtain energized crystals. We still got crystals. Ooh, you'll encounter a second set of 6 ancient beacons in the interludes. What does it mean, like 6 ancient beacons? Encounter a series of 6 ancient beacons. The series, so 1 beacon per thing? Maybe. There's now an Atlas passive tree for Fate of the Vaal League mechanic. Okay. So, more power to give him back. You must be hyped for Twisters. I'm always hyped for Twisters, man. I am excited to see people are interested in it more now, but you know, make no mistake, it's not like mysteriously way better now than it was last league. People, the discovery of ice-tipped arrows for leveling, it's convenient. There is a way to play Twisters leveling that isn't hardly any slower or worse than using ice-tipped arrows. Like, I don't need ice-tipped arrows to make Twister good for leveling, but it is a little bit nice in power, specifically in like Act 2 and Act 3. Then people are also intrigued by Twister because of the new Spirit Walker Ascendancy, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be no better, if anything, a little weaker than Deadeye still anyway. So what I'm trying to say is, I don't actually think Twister is like any better now than it was last league or the league before. It's just people's awareness of it and belief in it has skyrocketed since then. It's just more, it's one of those things where it's a long time coming, and it's fine. That time is finally here. So, which probably means it'll get nerfed in 1.0, but it's not going to happen yet. GGG would have to witness a really high play rate until they would actually consider nerfing it, I think. A lot of people are going to play Twister this league and not like it, by the way, because it is hard to play. It's a lot of buttons, a lot of maneuvering. It's huge positioning awareness needed. It's just way harder to play than most builds. Like, you actually have to be concerned with all that stuff. Now, at the late end game with like salvo and huge number of Twisters and proc speed and stuff, it will matter less. But a lot of people won't make it there. A lot of people will get lost in the weeds in the beginning, and they're gonna hate how many buttons need to be pressed in order to play Twister efficiently, like in the campaign and stuff. And it's gonna drive people nuts, and they're gonna bail out of it before they see the light at the end of the tunnel. So the goal, one of the goals we're going to have today when we get to this is, how do we make like a really strong Twister build by reducing as many buttons as possible? Because that's something, you know, obviously that's part and parcel of feeling like a god and making a build that can be good with the flow state and all. You don't want to be pressing 10 different buttons like you are in the campaign when things are moving a lot faster and you're trying to just grind, you know, 6 hours a day or whatever. You don't want to be pressing a ton of buttons. And that's kind of generally the goal in the end. In the campaign, I'm perfectly fine pressing like 10 different buttons on day one. But when things are moving slow, relatively slow, you have a lot of reaction time and stuff. But anyway, moving on. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. This is, again, the Vaal Temple mechanic. Materi Temple can now be found in the Atlas to the northeast of your starting location. Oh, nice. They give us the direction hint. There are also new temple precursors. I may actually just rush the temple mechanic and ignore everything else. I might do that, because I think I'd be one of the only people who would do that. And if my intuition serves me right, I would be very well off in doing that. It is no longer possible to prevent a room from being deleted from the temple. Rooms that must be deleted but have other connections. Rooms that must... Yeah. Okay, so this is the actual nerf that they're talking about. Very important line here. There are new temple precursors that will guarantee Vaal beacons in your map if you want to focus on this. Okay, so maybe we can't... We still have to run a lot of maps to get the energy needed to do temples. I was hoping maybe... Does it say anything in here about, like, do we have to run 6 or 3 or more maps? What is it? An average of 3 maps to unlock one temple run? Is that still a thing, or has that number been reduced? I don't know. Okay, anyway, very important here. It is no longer possible to prevent a room from being deleted from the temple. Rooms that must be deleted must be deleted. Interesting wordage. Must be deleted, but have other connections, will be turned to simple pathing room. This prevents a snake. Doesn't this just refer to like rooms that would get deleted because you used a tier 3 mechanic? Like, for example, if you have the sacrifice chamber room tier 3 and you use it, you get the currency, and then it says it has to be deleted, but it doesn't because it's part of a snake. Isn't that all that means? So, isn't that... Like, that doesn't refer to, like, tier 3 spy master rooms. Like, they don't get deleted normally when... Or do they? Also, but it doesn't say that. It doesn't actually suggest that. It's implied loosely in the first line, but the second line specifies explicitly rooms that are programmed to be deleted. Right now, there are rooms that are programmed to be deleted, but if you bury it in a snake, it won't be deleted. So that's specifically like tier 3 alchemy room, okay? Tier 3 alchemy room, you do it, you actually, you know, you do that mechanic, you get the little reward, and then it's supposed to be deleted after that, but it doesn't get deleted because it's part of a snake. The sacrificial chamber, tier 3 room especially. So I don't know how it turns into a simple path room, but path rooms must be pathing. There must be a path connecting to start, so that must change in and of itself too. Okay, well anyway, the number of rooms in the temple when first starting has increased to allow getting at Ciri more quickly. Rooms can now be upgraded to tier 4 after unlocking Rooms can now be upgraded to tier 4 after unlocking this ability on the Temple Atlas tree. This allows more specialization into particular room types and encourages more interesting temple layouts. Reward rooms granted from the console after defeating Architect have been significantly improved. Okay. Restricted rooms in its series are accessible, will always destabilize upon exiting the temple. Restricted rooms in its series temple that are accessible always. The series temple medallions now have the drop rate scaled with the number of paths in the temple, in addition to other rooms. Previously only other rooms. Oh, okay. The drop rate scaled with the number. Does it mean like scaled down? I don't know. Because wasn't it like harder to get lock medallions when you had more rooms? Like drop chance per. All the rooms that heavily affect temple rarity and monster mods have guaranteed destabilization. No. A lot of rooms you don't have to take the reward though. A lot of rooms you don't have to take the reward. So like there are some rooms where you're forced to take the reward to progress further, but there are some where you don't. So you could like theoretically maybe build a temple with prioritizing rooms that go up to the top tier, but and you clear the room, but it doesn't like maybe there's an optional reward, like the not the sacrificial, the corruption chamber top tier room has an optional reward on it. If you take the reward, it destabilizes the room unless it's protected currently, then it won't. So in theory you would get that room, build it up, and then you would just never take the reward. And it would prevent the destabilization. I think what I'm reading in here so far is that snaking still totally exists. And, you know, the sacrificial chamber, you just never... I could see this being a weird thing where, like, they're basically, like, they're making it so you cannot simultaneously farm a bunch of currency and farm temple-specific reward rooms. You have to choose one or the other. Which is like... that's ridiculously good for anyone who's just focused on farming currency. Because if I'm dropping... like, I'm guessing we wouldn't be dropping like 70 divines in a room or in a temple, but maybe it's just like 10 now, right? I should be totally happy with that. Yo, young Y-Docs. He is here. I saw you. I was lurking in your channel for a hot second there. What are your orders, Masters? I don't know. I'm figuring them out. What do you think? Are you gonna play? Are you gonna play Twister this league? Are you gonna do that? Sorry, guys. I'm distracted. We got a bona fide celebrity in chat here. We're going soft core. Oh, I'll give you a Twister build. I'll give you a Twister build for sure. Just from the get-go, I am automatically inclined to go Spirit Walker because that would be the best thing I could do for, like, as a content creator to get the most amount of clout out of this. I am genuinely interested in it. But I'm also inclined to go Deadeye because I'm a min-maxer and I feel like Deadeye will still be stronger. So the question becomes, both Spirit Walker and Deadeye have certain problems they need solved, and my ultimate decision after reading the patch notes will have to do with which problem is easier to solve and where I lean on the spectrum of, hey, I want to play the strongest Ascendancy no matter what, rather go Deadeye, versus, hey, I want to take advantage of the new Ascendancy. It'll be fun, cool flavor of the season. Most people are going to want to play the new Ascendancy too. I'll get more interest in it, more people searching the build guides, make more money, more content, you know, all that stuff by going Spirit Walker. So I'm kind of pulled in both directions. I'm not a money-hungry, grubbing content creator type, so I'm not just automatically going to play the thing that will give me the most amount of money. But it is a variable that I would consider at least a little bit, you know what I mean? I'm very much a min-maxer, so I really want to play the best version of the build. Especially after last league, playing a flavorful build that I knew was probably not categorically the best. So it's like one league on, one league off thing. So especially this league, I kind of want to go back to the most amount of power. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to compete with Tailwind, first of all. I mean, Tailwind's automatically 20% increased skill speed. Spirit Walker doesn't get 20% increased skill speed straight out the gate. So that's kind of sad. Abyssal Leech is good. Yeah, I'm not really that interested in Abyssal Leech, not because I think it's bad, but because I already got two other Ascendancies that are pulling my attention, and I don't, based on everything I've seen, I don't think Abyssal Leech is like categorically like above either of those anyway. I have an off-topic question about Gemlin. Can you help me? Not really. It's a bad time to ask off-topic question about Gemlin. Spirit Walker gets to use real boots. Well, I would not go Deadeye if I felt like Deadeye had to use Wake of Destruction the whole time anyway. We were talking in the Discord recently about how to solve. Basically, the TLDR on this is today, I want to figure out the best way for Deadeye to get elemental twisters, and I want to figure out the best way for Spirit Walker to get frenzy charges, because those are the things they're missing. Deadeye gets frenzy charges very easily with called shots. Spirit Walker will get elemental ground very easily with stag tech in theirs. So those are the two things you really got to figure out on either end: frenzy charges, elemental ground, because those two things empower twisters crazy hard. So you got to get it on. You got to figure out whatever build you're playing. You got to figure out how to get both of those things. And each Ascendancy can get one of those things very easily. Also, I really want to go parry in the endgame, which is probably going to rub some people the wrong way. But I think that I think you guys are going to like it if you actually set it up the way I'm going to set it up. But I still need to test some of that stuff. And that'll also give me a new flavorful way to play Twister, which I haven't before. Okay. Guys, we gotta get through the Vaal Temple mechanic stuff. Room-based medallions can no longer be used inside of an active temple. Okay, that's I get that. That's not really that big of a deal. Room-based medallions now display upgrade information when hovered. So, does the lock medallion still exist? Parry will chase off the riffraff. Okay. Medallions can output descriptive error message when they cannot be placed. Huh. Okay. So okay, so I think this is technically a slight nerf to the medallion drop rate. This is a nerf to saving your snake chain. Like, it's harder to save. Snaking still exists. It's a bit of a misnomer when GG says snaking no longer exists, because they're only referring to snaking in respect to making a snake that allows you to protect reward rooms specifically, whereas you can already just simply not pick up the reward from those rooms. Except like, again, like, I think Alchemy Lab. Yeah, so, okay, so the Alchemy Lab is an example of a room where you are forced to take the reward to get through it. So that, I guess it would be very hard to stack rarity on the temples now. You would constantly be trying to, like, rebuild your rarity in the room. So that could be something that would make it hard to make a really good temple. But the Sacrificial Chamber, currently you don't need to take the reward from. The Corruption Chamber, you don't need to take the reward from. The Thaumaturgy, you don't need to take the reward from. And actually, what am I even saying? No, what am I saying? The solution to the Alchemy Lab is don't level it up to tier 3. You just leave it at tier level 2. And then you just run through it and don't take a reward room because it's not tier 3. Those rooms would only get converted into paths if you took them all the way to tier 3. And so this brings us back to the conversation of tier 2 versus tier 3 alchemy room. Well, the answer would obviously be tier 2 because it won't be deleted. Okay, that's all theory, but we'll have to see how it plays out. They could make it so... I could see a world where they make every single room unbypassable unless you take the reward from it, which means you would never upgrade a room to tier 3. The Spymaster room, I guess... Okay, so I guess maybe what's happening here is Spymasters can no longer be protected, so they would just always get deleted. Because they're now no longer protected. But that's different, though. That's actually a slightly different mechanic. It's not that it's not deleting the same way that it's suggested here. The Spymasters might still be protected. I don't know. Yeah, we'll have to see. There are now 4 types of infusers. Existing Vaal infuser, Vaal armor infusers can apply to armor. Oh, okay. Vaal infusers. Right, the smithy room. So, I mean, it would be a legitimately good way of making currency. Still, like, focusing on the reward rooms. I don't see there's any world where, like, the temple is a bad way of making currency. I mean, there's so many specialized currencies that are valuable in the temple. I think a lot of them don't really... I can see the temple, like, these specific rewards not being all that valuable in the early in-game. But, like, later on, when people want to min-max, they'll be, like, really expensive. Okay. Some unique stuff. Did they nerf Vertex? Yeah. Plus 3 to 5 level of all curse skill. So what? Vertex got shit on. Alright, well, that's good timing, because I don't really care. The nice thing about going pure attack build is you don't really care about plus levels. I heard that the battle essence got nerfed again. It doesn't really matter on attack-based build. It doesn't matter all that much anyway. It'll just make the top-end spear harder to craft, basically. There are now large abyss cracks in the Atlas. Completing Atlas Abyss will close them and always give you an abyssal depths with a boss fight. Oh, okay. So Abyss, not much has really changed on that. Okay, Expedition. The Recombinator's been disabled. Oh, well, the Recombinator pissed me off a lot when I tried to use it, so I don't really care about that. Other in-game changes. With the introduction of the new storyline, the Atlas has been reset. Ha ha ha. Your existing tablets and waystones will continue to work. Okay. You can now zoom out slightly further on Atlas screen. Well, Lily will be really happy about that. There are now 2 versions of each pinnacle boss, the quest version and the infinite farm version. That's such a lazy text. Infinite farm version. They should just call it the pinnacle version. The primary, secondary, and tertiary calamity fragments can no longer be obtained. Wait, so there's only 2 versions of the boss now. So this is a pretty big change. There's going to be a pretty big jump between the quest version and the pinnacle version. It is really like quest version, pinnacle, and then maybe there's no Uber. I don't know. Okay. Each empty tablet slot now contributes to blah, 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 right? Waystone. All right. Is there anything in here about waystones that's really important? Tablets of the same type may now be used together to increase the amount of league content that is spawned. Yeah, okay. So that, I mean, that was kind of already true for some things, but not others. The specifics of this are different for each content type. In some cases, adding multiple tablets will increase the size of a single encounter, while others will increase the number of encounters spawned. Ooh. I assume that's a buff to in-game farming. Each empty tablet slot now contributes to the amount of random non-tablet spawned league content in the area. This means that if all tablet slots are full, you will only see league content from the tablets you are using. Okay, so a buff to Alk and Go. Alright, cool. Waystones must now be identified in order to be activated in the map device. That's a nerf. That's a nerf to farming efficiency. Oh my god. You can now use orbs of chance on tablets. Ah, that's cool. Chance orbs just got a buff. Some items and content now require you to specialize in them through Atlas passive skills. Fracturing orbs. Basic and Overseer. Okay. Tablets can no longer be used on maps that cannot have extra content. Yeah. Well, I thought that was already the case. League-specific tablets no longer drop from non-map areas, such as Simulacrum, Abyssal Depths, Twisted Domain. Okay. Lowered the base chance for Essence. It's Mirror Spirits, Shrines, Strongbox, Summoning Circles, Rogue Exiles appearing in maps somewhat due to the larger increase now available on the Atlas tree. I wonder if farming Lichborn Rogue Exiles will still be a good league start strat. Adjusted the values of general precursor tablet modifiers to be similar to the same type bonuses granted by Waystone modifiers. Yeah, so that might be like a nerf to increase number of rare monsters found modifier number or something. Because that number was like higher. Maybe. That may also just straight up remove quant rolls too. I don't know. Following modifiers can no longer roll. Oh. Of Nemesis. Of Nemesis? Isn't that the... Oh shit. That's the increased number of rare mobs, isn't it? Maybe. I don't know. They may know. Is this saying that you can't roll increased number of rare monsters on Waystones anymore? Whether a map modifier is a suffix or a prefix has been adjusted so that generally prefixes are modifiers that affect a monster's output towards the player, and suffixes modifiers that affect the player or monster defense. Wait, so that makes prefixes good? Alright, I don't know. We're just going to have to see. Over time, it doesn't really matter that much right now. Modifiers to pack size now also provide a chance for additional rare monster to appear in rare monster packs. Ah, this is a big buff to Endgame, actually. I've always wondered. I thought that was already a thing. But, I don't know. Monster Rarity is a new stat available. Really? That affects the chance of magic of rare monsters and the chance for additional modifiers on rare monsters. Monster Rarity is a new stat available where? On gear? Surely not. No, on Waystones, I guess. New buff to Waystones? Map modifiers that included sources of increased number of rare monsters or increased number of magic monsters have been updated to only display that number at the header of the map. Okay, whatever. Halved the bonus to quantity of item drops and experience gain provided by increased monster effectiveness. Oh. Alright. So that is a definite, like, numerical nerf to temple loot. Okay. Not the end of the world, but, you know, I expected... I honestly thought they were just going to, like, delete monster effectiveness. But okay. The functionality of... So that also includes, in, like, what limited amount you can get on precursors and stuff. The functionality of Omen of Chaotic Rarity, these are Waystone Omens, have been inverted. Instead of guaranteeing, they instead prevent modifiers from being their okay, that actually kind of makes more sense to me. So that means if you want pack size and rarity, you would put in the rare monster, magic monster. Alright, that'll probably be what we do then. Sure. Since now pack size increases the number of rare monsters indirectly, that'll probably be the Omen that'll be best. I think it's called Omen of Chaotic Monsters. Maybe. Added new Omen of Chaotic Effectiveness. While this is active, the next chaos will replace modifiers with all that do not grant monster effectiveness. Now, why the hell would you do that? Up to 3 of the above omens may be used simultaneously. What? Oh, shit. No, you can, like, full-blown target something simultaneously. Oh. So you can go pure monster effectiveness or pure rarity anyway. Okay. Groovy. Have the damage as extra buffs from the following shrines. Okay. Waystones have received new 2D art. Very important, guys. Very important buff to Waystones. Campaign replayability. Oh no, all my speedrunning days. My speedrunning. All that memorization. Gone out the window. Oh no. To improve how long it takes for experienced players to replay through the campaign or game in each new league, we've added guys. But who is writing the patch notes? In each new league, we've added elements to multiple campaign areas that tell you where to go. Not the best use of English there. If you know what to look for, you can see some examples in this video. Yeah, okay, I know what they're talking about. In the reveal, they talked about this. I mean, I don't suspect they really changed the campaign all that much. I think they just basically like shortened some zones and added some hints. I bet you like virtually all the zones are the same though. As far as like, you know, yeah, like explicitly memorizing zones, that might be that might throw you off completely, but like you just like knowing the zones in general and using your intuitive sense. Hey, the exit's at the opposite end facing the entrance, you know, like that. Just knowing that alone is probably still like gonna do you very well as far as getting through the campaign quickly. Remove the second Dreadnought area, the Dreadnought Vanguard, the Act 2 boss now, and the Dreadnought. Yeah, that's probably good. Since I noticed, I noticed that the final zone in Act 1 and Act 2 are the same. Well, Act 1's final zone, Ogham Manor, has like 3 sub-layers, but they're all technically the same zone. So this has to do with like things getting out of hand with the monster area level, I guess. So maybe the area level has been reduced by 1 from the end of Act 2 forward. Maybe, I don't know. Area order in Act 3 has been somewhat rearranged in order to make progression smoother. That suggests to me that maybe Act 3 has received some pretty significant changes. Early Act 3 is really annoying because there's like hardly any monsters anywhere. And there is like, there's always like 2 separate areas you gotta go to. The waterways levers have been turned into pressure pads. You simply need to walk over, and the final part of the level has the water pre-drained. The final part of the level has the water pre-drained. Okay, so you don't need So no more levers, guys. I wonder if they changed that one map. Augury. Augury, yeah. Augury, is that the one? Fernandog. Great day, Snoo. Thanks. Great. It is a great day. Yeah, bad. I don't mind the waterway level. I don't mind it that much. I don't even think the lever things are that bad. But anyway. Wait, what about Molten Vault? You still have to pull that lever? There's 2 of those giant levers in there. Oof. Monster density in the second half of the campaign has been reduced, especially in the interludes, to allow getting through those areas more quickly. Okay. Was there like too much XP gained in there? I don't know. I haven't done the interludes enough to really know. Twister lives today. We got a couple more days to go. Oh yeah. Bleed damage on players is no longer increased while the player is moving. This change does not affect bleed players applied to monsters. Bleed okay. I mean, that's good, I guess. Makes the campaign easier. There's something like those Reapers in Act 1. Oh my god. The maximum runic ward is now added to your starting honor when beginning trial. Okay, cool, I guess. I never use ward. I keep hearing about it. I don't know if it's good or not. In the context of a build I'm doing anyway. The defense's keyword is no longer in use. Existing word, the defense now applies to armor, evasion, and energy shield. To make it more clear, these modifiers do not affect runic ward, resistance, block, or other forms of protection. What? It doesn't affect runic ward. Why? Only a single leech instance per resource can apply at a time. When multiple leech instances are active, only the one with the highest recovery rate will recover you until it expires, which the next highest recovery rate instance will apply. This is basically, I mean, this is probably the only nerf to Twister, really. I mean, it's whatever, because Twister is definitely a build that gets just like just crazy amounts of leech, and it's death by 1,000 cuts. So one individual leech from a Twister is not going to be all that powerful. This means we're going to have to rely on life on hit, which comes on gloves or weapon or rings, maybe can't remember. And I'm probably gonna go Ghost Dance anyway, and yes, I'm aware Ghost Dance was nerfed. I'm probably gonna do it anyway. Mana, I mean, it doesn't really, mana doesn't really matter. You have a mana fight, like, I don't think like mana is like, we'll probably still use mana leech. Build's not that mana starved anyway. Just gotta keep level 1 whirlings. Whirling slash. Plus we have access to like mana efficiency nodes on the tree and stuff if we need it. Evasion plus deflection is an insane buff. Oh really? I didn't even know that. Life on hit doesn't make us have to use mostly fizz damage though. Yeah, that's what I like. That's especially why I like it. Because like if you go ice tipped arrows, Twister, and get life on hit. I mean, in the campaign, if you have like 2 life on hit, like you got tons of life recovery. I noticed. Like I quite often just randomly get that on a spear or on the gloves in the campaign, and it's big. All right. There is now a limit on the maximum amount of damage a hit can be considered to deal for leech. Hits that deal less than 40,000 total damage are deal more than 40,000 total damage treated as dealing only 40,000. Okay. I mean, what? Okay, whatever. I guess they gutted leech. Okay, I get it. You gutted leech, guys. The formula for chance to deflect has been adjusted to provide better scaling with investment into deflection rating, with a cap of 95% chance to deflect, similar to chance to evade being capped at 95%. The new chance to deflect is one. All right. Well, yeah, maybe that's something we'll look into at a later date. I'm not going to get lost in the weeds of the formula of deflect. I didn't even consider deflect. But I mean, that's good news because I was planning to go a super high evasion build this time anyway, regardless of which ascendancy I was doing. Probably going evasion, energy shield with More emphasis on evasion this time. And if deflect is good, that's going to be really nice, because that would still be kind of one of the weaknesses. Especially if I'm trying to do parry. If you fail to evade, the stun threshold is going to read off of the deflect now too, as well as damage taken. Parry, shield, block, resonating shield, no longer delay heavy stun buildup. From decaying longer than expected. The first line about parry. Parry, shield, okay, parry no longer delays heavy stun buildup from decaying longer than expected. Yeah, so if you parry and then try to parry again too soon, you get it like basically like resets the stun buildup delay in a bad way. So this is a buff to parry, actually pretty considerable probably. Maybe it just reads into each instance and delays based on the instance individually, instead of just like tacking on time. There's like an internal cooldown on stun buildup removal with parry, and if you keep parrying, it keeps building up and it never has a chance to go down. Melee attacks can now only apply splash damage once per damaging area. Some attacks create multiple damaging areas during use. For example, Whirling Assault. Yeah, okay, that's a monk ability, not spears. Oh, when minions are removed due to resources changing, such as weapon swapping, younger, newer minions are now prioritized for removal over older minions to avoid wasting minion cooldown. Oh. One thing I do need to check to see if maybe minions... because I might still use minion tech for chilled ground. Maybe. I gotta see if like the whole spirit thing still lines up in that way, because I don't know. Don't know yet. Minions affected by last gas for triggers no longer die. Can no longer die during the effect and taking for that. Okay. Stats worded as when you collect a remnant no longer give you the benefits of these stats when an ally shares the effects of the remnant with you. Okay. It's all minion stuff, I guess. Updated the name of the buff that Trinity grants to Affinity as Resonance. This is a purely description update. Okay. Okay. Cool. Alright, so TLDR, Leech utterly gutted. Deflect massively buffed. Probably, although I don't know for sure. Parry marginally buffed. And that's about it. New content and features. Introduced the new Martial Artist Ascendancy class for Monk. After decades of training, the martial artist has become a master of illusions. Empowered by runes socketed into his body, his class creates powerful illusions, summons illusionary bells to aid him, and excels in using his hands as weapons. Oh boy. But the one we're interested in is a new Spirit Walker Ascendancy class for Huntress bound to the wilds. This class calls upon the spirits to answer to her will granting different abilities aligning with the stag, owl, or bear. Through their guidance, the Spirit Walker may subdue even the most formidable beasts. Oh yeah. Unique boss taming. An X factor. We don't know how good it'll be. Probably trash. Trash or either broken and then patched out. New lineage support, arbiters, reach. Yeah, okay, a bunch of lineage gems. Some of those will probably be good. New unique items. Barracks, grip, pass, respite. Hey now. Hey now. Is the taming in here? Do we have the taming? The taming? No. So the barracks things, it's basically like elemental ailment sharing, kind of, or like move, like your elemental ailments move into other enemies nearby and stuff. Probably doesn't matter that much for Twister though. Let's see if any other names we recognize. Face Breaker, yeah, they talked about that. Lore Weave, Mage Blood. Oh no. I don't recognize any of the others, really. Oh, voices. Yeah, we need voices. I'll have to check these on PoE1. Are any of these, like, if you were to just, like, hand select this and put it in from PoE1 to PoE2, these are, some of these are, like, PoE1 uniques. Would it be amazing for Twister? Let me know in the chat. Added 8 new idols that come exclusively from monsters possessed by Asmerian spirit. We don't know what they are. Minion Splash, oh boy. Fragment Stash tab available. It can hold your fragments. Yeah. You will be able to find the stash tab. Wait. If you have previously purchased one, it will automatically be made available. Yes. Coupe is asking, what are my thoughts on Abyssal Lich Twister? Good endgame build. Evidently bad at leveling. One of the better Twister builds. Not planning to play it. Those are my thoughts on it. You can check out Prada for information on that, I think. Ooh, you can now skip dialogue sequences with NPCs by pressing escape. I think I saw this on Reddit. This is probably one thing that's getting speedrunners super excited. Oh boy. Oh boy. Added a reforging bench to the entrance of Trialus Chemist. Oh. Continue to incrementally improve the sound, art, effects, and environments. This is like the feel-good line. What Ascendancy am I planning to run? It's either going to be Spirit Walker or Deadeye. I'm not sure yet. That's something we might figure out today. Hopefully. Got to figure out real soon. Ascendancy changes. The Into the Breach skill granted by Waking Dream now grants 20% of your maximum leech when you getting improvements of leech. 20% of your maximum mana. You know, they could make Acolyte of Chayula actually like good for leeching. Now that would be a nice way to buff that Ascendancy, I guess, relative to the gutting of leech. They should just make it like god tier leech Ascendancy. That would help. That would certainly help it. Blood Mage. Oh yeah, so Leech got it in there. This is them saying, "Hey guys, look, Blood Mage is a nerf. We actually buffed it. See? Deadeye or algorithm sell." Okay, dude. Chronomancer, the rapid women. Okay, I don't care about Chronomancer. I know people are excited. They do have a defensive thing. I heard through the grapevine that Chronomancer is not exactly super powerful still, but I don't know. Cool, flavorful Ascendancy. I think there actually was a way to build Twister into Chronomancer, or Chronomancer Twister build, but I never really looked into it. Now the Gemling Legionnaire is getting a pretty curious change with the alternate quality. I heard, okay, yeah, let's have a moment of silence for all the Roa enjoyers who switched over to Pathfinder just because they got to sprint without getting knocked down. I guess they're going to have to go back to riding Roa, huh? Shame. Such a shame. Those poor Pathfinder gamers. Gotta feel bad, right? Gotta feel bad. Feels bad when the meta gets nerfed. Feels bad. That's the beauty of never being meta. You don't get nerfed. Not like that. Passive tree changes. 19 new companion theme passive tree to the passive, or passive skills to the passive tree. I mean, there could be something crazy in there. You know, there could be. I don't know. Added a new Arcana Death. Okay, don't care about that. 30% more reservation efficiency of companion skills. 20% less reservation efficiency of non-companion skills. Fuck off. God. Ugh. Well, I mean, it was terrible before, so at least that's a little bit compelling. The Vaal packed keystone now grants 50% more amount of life leech. 67% less life leech speed. What? Can I recover life other than leech? Well, you're just gonna die then, I guess. But hey, you can use life flasks. So it's basically a non-functional keystone. Cool. Cool. Storm charge and breaking point cluster no longer connects to egdl slot. You're going to be the meta now, sir? Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. I can mention the Bastion. I don't know the names of some of these. If I don't know the name of it, it's probably not that amazing. I mean, if it's not on the bottom right side of the tree or right side of the tree, I'm not going to know it. Twister's getting nuked from orbit 3 days before launch? Yeah, okay. Sure. Sure, buddy. I wouldn't be surprised if they buffed Twister before launch. Remember that they like randomly just slid in that buff back in 0.4? At the very last day. It was like Twister suddenly was doing like 12% more damage. You guys remember that? I remember like what are they doing? Why are they buffing Twister? It's so crazy. But nobody cared. You know, nobody cared then. Now in retrospect, people must be like, that's a crazy idea to buff Twister by 12%. What are you guys doing? But back then, nobody batted an eye. Nobody batted an eye. Yeah, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't think Twister is getting nerfed for multiple reasons. One of the biggest reasons it's not getting nerfed is because they're not going to preemptively nerf a skill that they've like showcased in the reveal, and also happens to be a skill that's up until now had a very low play rate. Just because there's a lot of buzz about it now. I mean, the fact that they showed it in the reveal is they're going to attribute a lot of the buzz to that, not people's perception of thinking it's overpowered. The other reason it's not going to get nerfed is because, and I meme about this, but I'm actually dead serious, Twister is uniquely difficult to play at the top end level. So whenever somebody who's like, you know, guy that dies, who gets a world record speedrun, which I made a video on, whenever he does that, that's not something that players can just replicate. It's not like somebody who is good at grenades is suddenly just going to play Twister and magically beat their grenade time. That's not a thing. That's not even a thing, okay? Because it's just a lot more, it's a totally different play style, a lot more moving parts. Positional awareness matters with grenades, obviously, but it also matters in an even more sort of, I don't know, compelling way with Twister, with all like the bouncing back, and like it doesn't just matter where the monster stands, it matters where you stand too with Twister, whereas grenades, it only matters where the monsters stand, right? Yeah, and there's just going to be a lot of players who right now, right this very second, Twister is legitimately, it's a combination of Twister being overhyped and previously underhyped. So in 0.2, 0.3, and 0.4, Twister was underhyped. Right now, Twister, it's like just gone, it's like way overshot right now. Twister's overhyped. It is very, very good, but there's a lot of challenges with the Twister build, okay? There are a lot of challenges with it. I like it in particular because I happen to like combo-related gameplay that actually cares about, you know, what you're doing as a player, your positioning. I like builds that involve a lot of moving parts. I don't want to play that way all the way for the whole league. I like being able to remove a lot of the complexity throughout the build's progression naturally to get into the flow state more easily. But the fact of the matter is, in the campaign in particular, in early endgame, if you want to maximize a Twister build, there's a lot you got to do to it, both in terms of like how you build it and how you play it. A lot of players are just thinking, because of what they've seen from a few videos and heard from a few Twitch streamers, that Twister is just going to be like an automatic shoe-in, like best thing ever. They're going to start playing it, especially those that don't even practice it, just like Imagine being one of those players who is just playing a build or a skill because they heard their favorite streamer said it's overpowered, and then they literally don't even practice it, and then they go play it on day one, and they fucking hate it because it's so different, it's so weird and hard, and then like they're sitting there watching a video on the second screen. They like load up videos of guy that dies running. It's like, well, he makes it look so easy. And then they're like playing it, and it's like, what the fuck? I can't even like kill a trash mob over here. He's like killing bosses in 3 seconds. What is going on? And, like, check his gear. His gear is like, he's got like, his weapon's doing half as much damage as mine on the same level. What is happening? There's gonna be tons of people who experience that this time around. That's the burden of things being overhyped. That's the unfortunate result. So I'm not like super happy that Twister is being hyped this hard, because I know there's going to be a lot of shitty Reddit posts on day one of the league. A lot of it. You can clip this right now. There's going to be a lot of shitty Reddit posts on day one about Twister. Dang, dude, people are cooked. This skill sucks. You know, there's going to be a lot of that. A ton of it. Okay? So if you're somebody who's watching my stream for the first time because you heard Twister is good, you should go practice it. You should actually go play it right now and see for yourself, because you don't want to be blindsided. Something terrible. You can watch Guy That Dies video. He came out with a great commentary video, but he goes through and explains things, but it's a lot to take in, okay? I know that, I mean, as much affinity as I have for that skill, as much as I love that playstyle, if I had never played Twister up until now, and I just tried to pick it up on day one, I would have had a miserable experience. So even me, okay? Like, not a miserable experience, but, you know, it would have been very challenging for me. I'm pretty sure if I were to go back in time and watch footage of me playing Twister on day 1, 0.2, it would be cringe as hell. I would be like, dude, what am I even doing? There's like no elemental grounds. It's like, I look like a total freaking noob. I can't even believe I played it this way, you know? I'm sure it would look like that. Alright, rant over. That's it on that. Okay. Let's go through here. To be fair, ice-tipped arrows will save a lot of people from having a terrible experience, because even if you F up the Twister cast, don't get the whirling /3, ice-tipped arrows will carry a bit. So there will be a lot of people who are like, oh my god, ice-tipped arrows made it so good. But even still, you're still gonna see a lot of that. Ice-tipped arrows falls off a bit, you know, toward the end of the campaign. I started on Twisters in 0.3 when I saw you doing Simulac. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even mention like the second reason why. I kind of alluded to this, but like the other reason why GGG was not going to nerf Twister is because I don't know this, but I know this. I know, you know, but you don't know, but you know that GGG is probably quite proud of Twister, the whoever, you know, their development of that skill and everything that goes in it. They probably look at that and they're like, yes, this is what we want the game to be. We want the game to be this. We want it to be like this. You know, with all the moving parts and all the setup, and you get interrupted, it kind of screws you over, but like you can recover and stuff. They want Twister to be, or they want builds to be like that. Less one button zoom. Yeah, sure, be overpowered in the end game, but like, especially when you're looking at like the leveling side of it and all. I say it's visionary gameplay, right? It's their ideal way for players to play the game, yes. And it's a way a lot of players don't want to play the game. But it is GGG's way they want players to play the game. So they're going to be much less inclined to nerf a skill or an archetype when it is so much in alignment with their vision. Again, something I kind of meme about, but I'm actually dead serious. Okay, anything else? Oh, we have something about deflection here. The Cunning Fox notable passive skill has been replaced by Quick Fox, which grants 20% increased deflection rating while moving. So Whirling Slash does not count as moving, so unfortunately, no. And that is a lot of deflection rating. 15% increased critical hit chance, previously 10, and 15% increased critical damage if dealt a critical strike and a hit in the last 8 seconds. This is actually a nerf to this one. That was a big crit. Notable. A little bit of a nerf. Okay. I mean, not that big of a deal. That's on the monk. That's very close to the monk's starting location. The fast metabolism notable. Passive skill now grants 40% increased damage while leeching life. Previously, life leech effects are not removed. Do you think the Vaal mod for Soul Tether still has instant leech, guys? Didn't that have instant leech? If Soul Tether still gets instant leech in the Vaal mod, that's gonna be like crazy. Oh, it got removed? Okay. Damn. Patient Barrier. Now grants 50% increase in maximum energy shield to previously 60%. Damn. I actually normally don't path up there anyway. Shatter Palm. Notable passive skill now. Provide 20% increased critical damage bonus. Previously 10. I think chance to daze. What? Hold on. Oh, this one. Some case could path up here. So if you went 1, 2, 3, boom, boom. Yeah, that could be justifiable for pathing if you're going up here. That's interesting. That is changed because with the build I was planning to take discipline training, probably. So this is already right here. It's an extra 5 points for crit. Okay. Staggering palm? Wait, they flipped it. What is the point? Why, GG? GG, why? GG, why? What's the point? Thirst of Kitava passive for insta leech. Thirst of Kitava. Shows up. Alright, we'll cut that off. Leech from empowered attacks is instant. Wait, does that still work? Oh my god, guys. This still counts as all twisters. We still got instant leech. Leech still survives. Leech still survives then. Instant leech is like automatic shooting. This might be the anoint of choice with leech, still with twister. Wow. They did say they make it cap. Yeah, I think instant leech with twister will actually be really, really good because they capped the maximum amount of leech. Wow, even the one way in which twister was nerfed, the one way in which it was nerfed, it still holds. Still holds. Can't be stopped. You can't stop the twister, GG. You can't nerf this. Got nothing. They got nothing on twister. It scales in too many ways. Even if they nerf like 3 different scalars, you'd just be like, fine, I'll just prioritize some of the other 5 different scalars for damage. Doesn't even matter. Too versatile of a skill. All that percent damage, all the gain is extra, all that more damage, all the skill effect duration, all the AoE breakpoints. Seal gain frequency reduction of all things. Scales in so many ways. Woo! Small passive skills that granted energy shield recharge rate have been removed from the passive tree and replaced with faster energy shield recharge at a lower value. Okay. It's not going to affect Ghost Dance too much. This is good for Ghost Dance, though. This, where is it at? 20% increase energy shield recovery rate if you haven't been hit recently. I think this works with Ghost Dance. I'm pretty sure it does. I could be wrong though. It either totally works or totally doesn't. Which came first, the energy shield or the getting hit? I don't know. Seal frequency rings. Do you think they'll be as good? No, I think they'll be really good. I think they'll be really good. They better give anticipation and anointable. You know, It better be anointable. Now, for some reason, they forgot to include an anoint for it. Like you can't even anoint this in the game. It has no anointment. I don't know. I heard Call of the Week got buffed. Skill changes. Skills with a fixed number of projectiles such as Glacial Lance can now benefit from effects that cause projectile count modifiers to apply to something else instead. Such as Ricochet 3 support. Okay. Anything in here? Comet. Comet nerfed? Oh no. Oh no, Comet nerfed. Oof. Oof. Call of the Week. Now hits can't be evaded. I thought it was already that way. Now deals previously. Oh my god, they doubled the damage. Okay, so Call of the Week. Call of the Week's damage is garbage. So even if they double the damage, it's gonna suck. I do like the attack base speed though. The one thing that annoyed me super bad about was the low base attack speed. That is a really big buff to it. From 60 to 75% attack base. In terms of like how you use it functionally. I forgot about that. Call of the Week in maps. Sometimes did that. Now it's mana cost of blah blah blah. Yeah, maximum dash range. Now maximum dash range has been increased. Mana cost reduced. Wow. War Banner buffed. I did hear about that. A movement speed penalty we use. War Banner buff. What the hell? Okay, it's numerical values in terms of power haven't been buffed, but actually, I mean, the radius thing is kind of nice. Ghost Dance. Guys, we gotta look at Ghost Dance. Okay, Ghost Dance was nerfed, and I mean, I was planning to rely on Ghost Dance a lot this league, so let's see what it says. The interval between gaining Ghost Shrouds is no longer a duration, which means compressed duration support does not work on it. No more duration tag. It now has modifiers to cooldown recovery rate. Also apply to Ghost Shroud gain frequency. Increase cooldown recovery. Okay, so I mean I think that's a net nerf, especially if you're not like going hard into cooldown recovery, which I wouldn't be as a general rule. But this might make me want to take like cooldown recovery as like the interlude reward option more so now, and favor that as far as like the soul core and the helmet as opposed to like AoE or something like that. Skill effect duration and cooldown recovery probably be really good if I do that. Okay. It also now has, when hit, lose a Ghost Shroud, and regenerate energy shield equal to 2% of your evasion rating per second. Wait a minute, isn't this above 2% of your evasion rating? 2% of your evasion rating. What did it used to say? Yeah, what did it used to say? What was the amount that you got? You got instant energy shield back. 5% instant? So it's 8%. It's 8% over 4 seconds. 7 with quality? Yeah, maybe it's like 3% with quality. Okay. Huh. Oh. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be good. Okay, and then also this guy hit pretty hard now. Gains a Ghost Shroud every 10 seconds instead of 6, basically. Yeah, I am planning to go like super hard into evasion. I want to use Hiri's Ire and stuff, and I did hear Hiri's Ire got nerfed too, but anyway, we'll get to it. Ice Shot. I heard somebody wanted to play Ice Shot. Ice Shards no longer have 25% more freeze buildup. I don't know how much of an impact that is. Lightning Arrow. Multiple lightning beams are no longer able to chain onto the same target. Ooh. Wait, is that like a massive nerf to like Lightning Rod, Lightning Arrow combo? Or is that just, I mean, I don't think that's that much of a nerf. Yes, the multi-shot. Oh, the multi-shot, okay. Okay. Mirage Archer and Mirage Deadeye can now be used with channel skills. Yeah, we don't use Mirage Archer. Parry area of effect has been changed to more closely match its animation. No longer has bonus attack distance. This is probably not even like a buff or a nerf. It's probably like a buff and then nerf. Like the second line is the nerf, but the first line is the buff. I don't actually know. But I'm planning to use this buckler anyway. So infinite parry range. Congratulations. Oh, Pounce got nerfed. I didn't know about this. Now has a cooldown of 5 seconds instead of 4. I mean, alright, whatever. Like, that's not some god-awful nerf. Little bit of a nerf, though, to Pounce. I'm not sure if I want to make Pounce part of the leveling build. Probably not. What do you guys think? As far as, like, leveling Twister, should I just make it conventional with immediately changing the weapon sets, or should I have players level us with Pounce anyway and Wolf? I don't know. I don't know if adding a note's gonna work. Like, I kind of have to like go one way or another. I don't know. Tempest Bell can now be ancestrally boosted. Number of active bells has been increased to 3 from 1? That's actually a huge buff to Tempest Bell, guys. I didn't know about that. Wow. I mean, Tempest Bell got gutted when it had its internal cooldown and one, but yeah, that's a huge buff to it because you can get combo points super fast. Oh man, I would have loved to have seen that back when the Hollow Palm hybrid Twister build days is going on. Damn. Oh well. That's too bad. Yeah, ancestrally boosted. Too much info for Wolf plus all Twister. Yeah, I'm thinking of like not having Wolf be part of the main guide. I think it's just going to be too confusing because it's later on it's going to revert at some point. Going to revert to split thing, and I don't know. I think people will just enjoy having Whirling Slash faster and Twister doing more damage to the campaign, more so than they will want like to squeeze a little bit of extra mobility out of. And even like Guy That Dies doesn't do Wolf Tech, so probably for the official guide I won't have it on there, but then I'll play it that way. Oh, here we go. Unleash, Expand, Salvo, and Freezing Salvo supports all use the same concept of seals instead of having their own versions. This means standardized rules to seals will be consistent for all cases, which they already were. They're just not labeled as such, resulting in some behavioral changes. Supports granting seals now consistently have the seal category. Nice. Alright. Well, that's not a buff to Salvo, but they do have Salvo down here. Freezing Salvo and Salvo support previously had an extra restriction that the relevant skill could not gain seals while you were performing the skill. This no longer applies to the case. Bringing there. I didn't actually know about that. Okay, that is a buff then. I would have thought I would have done that, yeah. Wolf Tech does let you auto mark for Frost or Hunter's Mark, though. Yeah, but that, like, you don't need a mark to do, you know, good performance. You can just have it as like a button to hard cast on bosses. Salvo support previously gave a seal every 2 seconds up to a maximum of 3 for a total of 6 seconds to get 3 seals and provide 2 projectiles. So 6 seconds to get 6 extra projectiles. It now does the same thing, but splits it off from 1 and 1 instead of 2 and 2. This is a buff, by the way, because anytime you're actually playing in the moment, you're not automatically looking and making sure that you have 3 salvo stacks for 6 additional projectiles. Sometimes you'll clip it off at 2, sometimes you clip it off at or whatever. So what this means is in the event that you would have, that you were going from like 2 to 4 or 4 to 6 and you clipped it off right beforehand, it's going to give you that extra one. It'll just be more consistently more projectiles overall. This is a buff too in terms of like real gameplay, especially like without like specifically tracking your salvo count or whatever. Sorry, this line right here. I really like this change. Like on paper, it's not a buff, but it is in terms of actual gameplay. Culmination no longer has count. Combo count loss for supported skills occur 50% slower. Oh, do we still need salvo with owl? Yeah. You'll definitely. Well, that's the thing. Like alvo or the owl. Like if you go Spirit Walker, you're gonna want to get salvo immediately with your first level 3 support gem. Immediately, you're gonna want that. It's going to change the playstyle into that, where you're casting Twister a lot less often. And that's kind of one of the challenges that I have with like Twister and the Spirit Walker with the Owl. It's going to be a little awkward in the campaign because the whole like freezing, you know, Frost Nexus and Twister, losing a support gem for that. Then you're also going to want to salvo. You're going to sacrifice 2 support gems for it. Maybe, but also the extra prog speed does not translate to percent increased damage until tier 5 support. So that's going to make, I don't know, I'm trying to think if there's an alternate way I can get the ground effect. It is possible that, here's a funny thing, it might be that the stag is the best first support gem. Wake plus salvo. No, like, well, you're looking at like day 1 immediately. You're not gonna have Wake of Destruction instantly. I might actually suggest on a Spirit Walker build to go stag first, just to get the elemental ground, and it'll give free damage. Because a combination of because you're, again, once you get the owl tech, you're extremely inclined to play the game with salvo oriented, but you can't go salvo super early without losing a ton of damage at the same time. With the damage support, you limited amount of damage supports. Also, the owl doesn't get that, combined with the fact that prog speed 3 isn't available yet, makes it really rough. So the stag does damage and gives you shocking ground, assuming that it's reliable. I might go stag first and then do both owl ascendancies at once towards the end of the interludes. And just slam them in at once. You want both owl points if you go owl. Well, I mean, you do, but like it, you know what I mean? Like probably, I could see it being like a 1 and 3, kind of like Deadeye is. I think it's what it might be. Of course, if we can access Wake of Destruction super quickly, then that'll be less mandatory. We'll have to see. Don't know yet. There are other ways to get them on ground, though. I mean, I don't know. Anybody here want to do parry Fangs of Frost through Act 2 and Act 3 and Act 4? Anybody? Or do you want to do the old school way with like force Fangs of Frost, just put a bunch of freeze buildup on it and Frost Nexus and Fangs of Frost? I mean, that does work. But nah, probably not. Am I going to play trade? Parry Lightning Spear is sick. What? Alright, let's get back to it. Let's get back to it. Overextend. Yeah, I always thought overextend support was kind of bad. For each 2 rage you have, you and your allies gain 1%. Previously, for each 1 rage you have. Ah, they nerfed this. Why? It was just like barely better than Ice Bite 2. Jeez. Jeez. So bad. Unique item changes. Anything in here that we care about? The Carnage Heart. Hiri's Ire, body armor. Alright, now has 100 to 150% increased evasion. Ooh, so the numbers are just lowered. Yeah, that's... The base has more EV though? The base has more EVs. Oh, really? All bases got buffed. Okay, okay. Well, I mean, that does indirectly buff other body armors. I don't think I'm going to include Hiri's Ire for leak start scenario. It's going to be too rare, or at least it was before, but I would like to because I think it's something I really want to go this time around. Greater orbs of transmutation and augmentation, more accessible. But they've been made somewhat more rare. Ooh. Transmute and augment, significantly more rare. Divine orbs are now more common. Oh no, that's going to increase the value of chaos orbs, I guess. The corruption outcome that randomizes the numerical values the numbers have on an item beyond the normal range now multiplies each modifier based on the current value instead of randomizing the value. Oh, this is what people meant when they said you need to divine it first. Oh, okay. So you're going to divine it to high roll ranges and then corrupt it. But you can't even get like... I heard Omen of Corruption doesn't even exist anymore, so that's crazy. The amount of extra sinks that's gonna... It's gonna be so hard to get like a good corrupted item. They basically nerfed corruption, like massively. Sanctifying an item now multiplies each based on the current value instead of randomized value. Okay, that's probably a buff though. Kind of. I don't know. Ooh, I like this. Overall number of essences found in the campaign have been increased. Though the proportion of these being essences of infinite has been significantly decreased. Dude, if you find the haste essence or the abrasion essence, it's the flat fizz essence early on, that's so good. That's so good. The amount of armor granted by items and modifiers has been increased as you get to higher levels. At level 65, you should have approximately 33% more armor. Ooh. Wow. Similar story for evasion. They even buffed energy shield. What? But not really. Okay. The Vaal robe. Oh, no, actually they nerfed it because Vaal robe is weaker. Ooh. Oh no. Obliterator bow nerfed. Aw. Bow's nerfed. Wait, is there anything about spears? Anything about spears? Increased shock magnitude. On talismans. Imagine like divining an item and then sanctifying it at the end with like Hinacore locks. There's so many divines to get like a perfect item. The +2 to level of projectile skills modifier on quivers now has a value of +1. Ah! Oh my god. +1 to level of gems on attack weapons. Now only roll above level 18? Level of all gems. Level of all gems. Like projectile gems? On attack weapons? So you can't get +1 prog in Act 1? What the hell, GG? It doesn't even matter. It's not that important for Twister. People who play spell builds primarily for a living think that's like some goated modifier. It doesn't matter very much. The perfect essence of battle now provides +3 level of all attack skills on two-handed weapons and +2, previously +3 for one-handed weapons. It went from +4 to +2 in 2 leagues. God damn. God damn. Guys, we're going to have to get +5 prog on weapon the hard way. Actually, the best weapon base will probably be double crit now. Crit chance, crit multi. Probably. There's still like a local crit multi-roll. Depends though. I mean, I kind of don't like focusing too hard on crit multi because, you know, you run into the crit resistance rare and it's like, roll your eyes. Mediocre essence of battle. It's all about that flat. Oh, body runes now gain 60 max life instead of 40. Hey now. Hey now. Crimson Culture build? Anyone? Crimson Culture? Guys. Crimson Culture. Imagine. Wait. Maybe it's Culture of Crimson? Oh, Culture of Crimson, sorry. Imagine wearing this body armor. Life Leech can overflow maximum life. 15% increase max life. Life Leech can overflow maximum life. With, what is that? Like 240 increased life on 4 sockets in there. 240 max life. And then going Leech with Thirst of Kitava still giving instant Leech on Twister. Oh my god. Dude, we would have like 6k life. 6% max life. Scratch that. 7k life Twister build. Effectively 7,000 life Twister build. The thing I hate about this is why is this armor and energy shield? Why armor energy shield base for a life piece? Like, come on, that's so dumb. It should either be pure armor or armor evasion. Because it's a blood mage item. Fuck a blood mage. Nobody cares about that ascendancy. Blood mage Twister win. Alright. Glacial Storm, Robust Rune. All these runes give way more. Blood mage fuck leech for all of us. Yeah. True story. True story. All idols can now be socketed into scepters. Oh, really? Let's see what they give. Alright. Idol vesting. 50% increase cost efficiency when socketing a helmet. 30% increased mana recovery rate while companion's presence. Nah, screw that. Now grants 50% power. It's all about companions. Now grants 15% increased damage for each different companion in your presence. Oh. 0.2 to flash charges per second when socketed into a scepter. Okay. Okay. Idol of Ralakesh. 40% increased armor evasion while your companion is in your presence when socketed into a scepter. That's global. Armor evasion energy shield. Wait, that's actually pretty good. Allies in your presence have 8% movement speed, but not you. Ugh. Flat chaos attack damage. What? Huh. Regenerate life. Socket and scepter. Increase accuracy rating when in gloves. 27 socket appears 15. Wait, I thought Cat Idol gave attack speed in gloves. What? Fox Idol now has a limit of 1. Owl Idol now grants 12% increased movement or cooldown recovery rate when socketed in focus. Ooh, 12% cooldown recovery rate. What? Oh, I heard about this. Rabbit Idol. Limit of 1. 12% rarity of items found when socketed in body armor. Yeah, so I assume we'll do this. Rarity buff. Surgog video when? Surgog video when? About rarity. Talking shit about rarity. I want to see it. I want to see Surgog's video. Snake Idol. Okay, no. Stag Idol. Forking projectiles. Doesn't work for Twister, though. Maximum Rage. Maximum Rage rolls up to 2 now? Ooh. The fevered prefix no longer rolls on Time Lost Sapphire. I don't know what that is. Why don't they label what they are? Cast speed modifiers are no longer shared with focus and wands. These modifiers now roll slightly higher levels on rings. Okay. Monster changes. The Culling Strike threshold for normal enemies is now 35% of their maximum life. Previously 30. Wait, I thought it was like 60%. Wasn't it like 60% a long time ago? Pack size affecting essence monster packs? Okay. Oh, nice. Greater Mind Jewel or Rune. Thank you. Yeah, I thought it was kind of dumb how you got. You skipped some great news. Accuracy prefix is now min level 8. What? Where did it say that? So the first transmute. Oh my god, that's like a speedrunner's wet dream for attack builds. Because that like bricks your run basically when your first transmute hits accuracy on your weapon. Does that mean it has accuracy as a lower weighting at eye level 16 too? Does it have a lower weighting then because like there's fewer roll ranges? Or fewer fewer tiers? Anyway, I love hearing that. I don't know, I'd miss that I guess. Noob are you doing Amazon or Deadeye, sir? Well, it's a question between Spirit Walker and Deadeye. And the answer is I don't know yet. We're going to talk about that after the patch notes read. User interface. I'm just going to skim through this and make sure I don't miss anything important. You can now set favorite trades on currency exchange when using mouse and keyboard. Yay. Oh, that's something you could do on a controller before? Bug fixes. Uh-oh. Anything with bug fixes? Fixed a bug where Pounce was providing additional mark effect to Predator's mark or socketed marks. Oh, yeah, I heard about that, but I didn't even realize what was going on. Ooh, maybe I've been nerfed. Maybe I've been nerfed, guys. We did have a bug fix. I guess we're getting like double mark effect or something. Something I heard. Fixed a bug where Arctic Howl could empower you in human form while using Echoing Cry. Huh? Huh? Fixed a bug where projectiles were ignoring ice crystals created by frozen locusts. Okay. I'm just skimming through the bug, seeing if there's anything here. Duration on boots. We got skill effect duration as a modifier on boots. Not seeing anything too important. Fixed an issue where parry's description did not state that all hits can be parried, instead just mentioning strikes and projectiles. Imagine if they fix a bug where like enemies can actually be parried properly. Instead of like some random like Miller's backhand can't be parried anyway. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool, cool. Hmm. New unique spear is kind of good. Okay. Updated patch notes. Ghost dance. What did they do this time? Oh, okay. We saw the updated thing. All right. Oh, cooldown nerf. Okay. Okay. Massive patch. Huge GGW Giga Hype for 0.5. Wow. Already logged in. Damn. Control F. Look at all these all these comments, guys. Not as large as I thought. That's what she said. Oh. Please don't make me depressed patch notes. Well, the only way you're going to be depressed with these patch notes is if you got something against Twister. Alright, guys, we look like we're eating good this league. Looks like another W patch for Twister. What do you guys think? W patch for Twister? I think we got W patch for Twister. Alright. Spirit Walker versus Deadeye. Wait, Warrior was nerfed? Spirit Walker versus Deadeye. We do the new thing? Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Okay. Here's the crux of it. With a Twister build, there are two problems challenges that you need to solve going into the end game in particular, but right away if possible. One of them is getting frenzy charges for barrage, and the other is getting elemental ground for Twister. Two major things you need to solve. So let's review the status of these two ascendancies, shall we? Spirit Walker. Obviously, the two big ascendancy points are Primal Bounty and Maka's Gift, with the Owl Feather tech. Very synergetic with Salvo, nice. But we also have the Vivid Stampede. Grant skill Vivid Stampede, gain a Vivid Wisp every 20 meters you move, up to a maximum of 3. Expend all Vivid Wisp to trigger Vivid Stampede when you attack. So you will be moving a lot. 20 meters actually does sound like quite a bit on like a boss encounter early game. You know, when you don't have a lot of movement. But I mean, you can just kind of force yourself to sprint around or you know, run around or something. Dance around, bounce around. Yeah, I should probably try Thunder Sleep too. Gain a Vivid Wisp. Yeah, anyway, so Vivid Stampede. On attack, the Wisps turn into Spirit Stags to stampede forward, dealing area damage around itself with each leap and creating shocked ground at maximum distance. Frost Nexus on Twister with tipped arrows. No, that doesn't solve for the end game though. That's not a real solution to the end game, because you're not going to be magically freezing bosses the whole time in the end game. That's only solution early in the campaign and otherwise on trash, and then you're still giving up a support gem on Twister. Primarily when we're looking at the elemental ground is, I mean, also in the very end game, Headhunter solves the problem on trash, but you're always left with like, how do you get elemental twisters on bosses in particular in the end game? Okay, so, and how do you do that without using a whole bunch of buttons? Like obviously Parry, Fangs of Frost can do it. Yeah, shocked ground at the end of its run then. So what could happen here is we would be constantly chasing our own stags. In general, we would be moving in the direction that our stags are running. And so you would just know that wherever the stag is going is wherever you're basically following your own stags. And then you're like setting up camp there and whatever. And you just face whatever direction you're going there. Which, I mean, sounds fine enough. That doesn't seem that bad. Unless they like run off screen and then like go into the mountainside and then you don't create an actual shocked ground or something. Shocked ground on crit for leaps. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, so to me, let's kind of fix this up here. Okay, for elemental grounds, for Spirit Walker, we have Vivid Stampede. Just in general, like it doesn't technically require something else. Now for Deadeye, we have Called Shots, which grants you, especially very reliable on bosses, gives you a mark every 5 seconds. Can be its cooldown can be reduced a little bit every like 4 seconds, and there's more tech there now as of 0.4. Here's one thing that's really making me lean toward Deadeye. Charged mark, supported mark skills trigger charged mark when they are activated. So on a boss, this is going to be up 100% of the time, basically. And you're going to get shocked ground on bosses. This would not be super reliable in maps, but it would show up every now and then. But again, like on maps, it doesn't matter as much. So here we have cold shots plus charged mark. We also have tame beast and tame beast as an option here. But that costs a lot of extra spirit. But anyway, these are a couple of very good solutions, I think, to elemental ground. On that, obviously, we have Twister plus Frost Nexus. And we have ice-tipped spears plus Frost Nexus 2. Oh yeah, Wake of Destruction. But I don't like Wake of Destruction as like a real like late endgame solution. Nobody does. It's good for trying to get that on like wearing Wake of Destruction like day 1 to day 2, day 1 to day 3 if you're pretty good at the game. That sounds great, but it's not like a real solution. I don't think you would normally go Wake of Destruction on Spirit Walker anyway. I think the Stampede's probably good enough. Could be wrong though. Called shots would probably come in later too. The Deadeye, the way Deadeye would work normally here probably is that you go Twister plus Frost Nexus, then into Wake of Destruction, then into Called Shots plus Charge Mark when you got your 4th Ascendancy. And you could drop Wake of Destruction after that point, if and when you wanted. Deadeye boring. Deadeye's so good though. Yeah, Wake of Destruction's flat damage is very strong early on, but not so much later on. Cast on crit stuff? Yeah, there's cast on crit stuff, but it's not reliable for bossing, and I have all but figured out how to remove a cast on crit gem from Twister. Not Monk, so Monk, has a real reason to use it. But like the Monk last league didn't have cast on crit for anything except damage as its thing. So I don't want to use cast on crit if possible. We used to use cast on crit with the runic grounds for power charges. We don't really need to anymore because you can get power charges through Wind Dancer. Crazy enough. Just getting hit with Wind Dancer gives you a bunch of power charges now. And if you go Resonance Keystone, that's endurance charges, but right now I don't really know how to solve endurance charges without Resonance Keystone. So there is Resonance Keystone, but it doesn't really make sense to use Resonance Keystone unless you're doing Armor Breaks Tech, which also sacrifices a Twister damage support. And again, this is what I did on Monk, but it made way more sense on Monk when we were trying to make Spark our primary damage source. So I don't want to be sacrificing a bunch of damage links in Twister to get its tech online, okay? Part of what we're trying to do here is figure out these solutions without sacrificing a bunch of damage, if possible. Because there's a lot of damage supports that you can use with Twister. You got Prog Speed 3, you got Skill Effect Duration, you got Retreat 3, or whatever it's Prolonged Duration 2. We're going to probably use Pinpoint Critical in there with Tangle Tongue at the start to like guarantee the crits. And then you got one more, which, could be like Elemental Armament or something else like that. So you may need to ask best class to start Twister. I'm always going to say best class Deadeye, but obviously Spirit Walker is a very high consideration this time around. I really wish I knew how clunky or not clunky the Vivid Stampede is going to feel. I'm a little concerned about it. Alright, Frenzy charges. You're not feeling the stag, to be honest? Called shots automatically. I mean, Deadeye's just got everything solved with called shots. That's the awkward thing. Obviously, you can hard cast if you want. Stampede. Frenzy charges with Spirit Walker is something that concerns me a bit. Alright, so there's really no other reason to look at any other solution for Deadeye. Like, it's just automatic called shots. Unless you went like, I don't know, maybe... Maybe you sacrifice damage link for that, but I seriously doubt it. Got banned in Fupkin's cat because he was shitting on Twister and wanting it to be nerfed. You got banned for something he did? What? Yeah, yeah, this is the major concern to me about Deadeye versus Spirit Walker. I mean, again, these are two very real issues that need to be solved, and Deadeye solves two of them with one Ascendancy, effectively. That's it. One Ascendancy. Deadeye solves both of them. And the real kicker with Deadeye, of course, is that the Frenzy Charge tech with Deadeye will be competitive with the Owl tech with Spirit Walker, as strong as that is. And then Deadeye also gets Tailwind. So when you factor in Tailwind on top of all that other stuff, it's just like... If you've ever run a Twister build, like, you know... Especially with recent changes, all the removals of % more increased speed to lineage gems and stuff to % increase. Any amount of speed you can get into the build is ultra premium at the end game, later stages in the end game. It's like even just that 20% increased skill speed is going to be so big. Are you telling me we are in 0.5 and Deadeye is still the best? I don't know what you want me to say, man. And Spirit Walker gets onslaught on the ground, it makes. Well, you see, that would be a big deal if Perfect Essence of Haste didn't exist. So you get onslaught on bosses. Congratulations. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter so much on bosses. Does Barrage work with Twister? Yeah, of course. Other Frenzy Charge options, parry plus disengage. Or Frenzied Riposte. What else? Combat Frenzy. But that's not really for bosses. I don't think this is a terrible idea though. Like parry plus frenzy. One interesting thing you can do, you can put Frenzied Riposte onto... You can put Frenzied Riposte onto Whirling Slash. And if you parry any number of enemies, like you just... I think you can only get one frenzy shot. I think there's like an internal cooldown on it, but... yeah, I don't think frenzy riposte might be that amazing. But with the buckler where you parry at any distance, I mean, that's pretty crazy. Sniper's Mark. Yeah, hard cast Sniper's Mark. I mean, I don't want a hard cast Sniper's Mark personally. Do you need second weapon set? Yeah. I'm not budging on second weapon set. I'm going to be using spears in both weapon sets for sure. In the end. Sorry, we're definitely using two. Now, I don't know about like early campaign. I'm either going to be using Wolf move tech or still using the weapon sets this way. Soaring ground gives onslaught. I mean, it only gives onslaught if you go, you know, if you're not doing the double stag stuff. What about the cursed ground tech for burning ground on bosses? I don't know about using curses on bosses. I'm not sure of a convenient way to do that. Well, like blasphemy support? I guess that wouldn't even work, would it? Vengeful projectile of owl feather empowered skills. The soaring ground thing, like, this is not going to be a reliable onslaught. Like, this is just going to constantly turn on and off. Or wait, does this give you... Wait, is this recently, though? Does it give you onslaught if you've touched soaring ground recently? Actually, I think it is that, isn't it? So never mind, that would be pretty reliable. So, Spirit Walker would get a weapon suffix back, but yet a much harder craft in the end game if you're not using Perfect Essence of Haste. Which, honestly, you'd probably use it anyway. You'd probably use both. Except maybe, like, Mirror Tier gear. I am really torn on Spirit Walker versus Deadeye here. I was honestly kind of hoping the patch notes would either like buff or nerf one of these ascendancies to make my decision so much easier, but they didn't do that. Thoughts? I mean, I've already shared my thoughts several times. We're in the middle of free Intimidate, survivability with a bear. Yeah, I don't think that Intimidate's going to have really high uptime, but the survivability is an interesting one, yeah. That is a little nice. I could definitely see Spirit Walker being pretty nice on day one. When you get, like early in the campaign, when you get called shots, I just feel like it's kind of a game-ending victory once called shots is unlocked. Everything leading up to called shots... Like at the end of the interludes, when both ascendancies have, when you have three ascendancy both, for sure Spirit Walker is gonna be ahead of Deadeye. Did they say whether or not the owl thing can? Hold on. And 50% faster. So it'll take 8 seconds instead of 12 Call the week. Yeah, I'm looking at bossing only with this. Bossing. So if you're gonna be calling bosses constantly in the middle of a boss fight, you let me know, but okay. Do we know if Primal Bounty is affected by cooldown recovery? Because that honestly is a huge deal if it is. We don't have any information here, I guess. Information's not here yet. Trigger tag, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, but like this, what were they saying? Like cooldown recovery works for Ghost Dance and it's not going to have a duration tag anymore. You know, like they said specifically. So I mean, here's a deviation from that. It now has modifiers to cooldown recovery rate also apply to Ghost Shroud gain frequency. Is that only Ghost Dance? I mean, maybe it's only Ghost Dance, but it's just so arbitrary, like, to have it that way. It's so random. I think best case scenario, you're only going to have on average 2 owl feathers per Twister attack, with the normal frequency of attacking with Twister, with taking into consider barrage and salvo internal cooldown, mostly salvo. So the owl feathers will be the real gate to it, and it's +4 prog. Whereas, okay, so barrage. So I think you'll pretty reliably get +4 prog and 140% increased prog speed every time you use Twister with Spirit Walker. I don't think we're going to rely... I mean, you will on the first attack on a boss obviously get +6 or 6 prog. But on average, with the normal pace of a Twister build, just generally speaking, it's going to be 2 owl feathers on average. I think it's the best case scenario. I think it might be like 1 2 1 2 2 1 2 1 2 2 1 2 1 2 2. I think that'll probably be roughly the rate. That's if you are using Twister when you get the full seal package off of salvo. That's assuming that the owl feather is not affected by cooldown reduction rate at all. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Well, right now you get max seals in 6 seconds with salvo, but anticipation reduces the seal recovery rate all the way down to, like, especially with ring affixes, it'll be like 4 seconds or something. 4 or 5 seconds. Probably 5 seconds at least. And so owl feathers you only get once every 8 seconds. Or you fill up all owl feathers in 8 seconds. Hard-coded as far as we know. So salvo, the normal pace that I'm already used to with salvo, and I know the exact pacing of a Twister build with salvo, I would have to wait extra time to get all the effect of the owl feathers, or I cast it prematurely with only 2, which is fine. That's fine. I would normally dodge roll in that time anyway. Now, Barrage gives empowered attacks repeat 2 times plus an additional 1 per frenzy charge. Alright, so let's assume for a second that the Spirit Walker is getting frenzy charges just as reliable as the Deadeye, which is a bit of a stretch on bosses, but let's just assume for that sake that it is. I think we can compromise here by also giving the Deadeye... Let's say, for example, the Spirit never gets double effective frenzy charges, but the Deadeye always gets double effective frenzy charges. That's a decent compromise there, mathematically speaking. So, if on a Twister attack you have 4, let's say 4 max frenzy charges, because with Deadeye you probably have 4 or 5, and with a Spirit Walker you probably have 3 or 4. So let's say 3 to 5. Deadeye would be like 4 to 6, versus Spirit Walker would be like 3 to 5. So a further 1 time per frenzy charge is consumed, so that means barrage would be, and this one's very important, this is repeat attacks. This is huge. Trying to understand how much power this is. So I'm trying to think of like additional projectiles versus repeat attacks. The Deadeye would get, if the Deadeye had the double effect and 4 additional, that would be 10 repeats in total. 10 repeats. Because it'd be 4 plus 4. 4 times 2 plus 2. So it'd be 10 repeats. And then the Spirit Walker would be getting 6 repeats. So the Deadeye would have almost double the damage through barrage that Spirit Walker gets. But Spirit Walker gets a flat, on average, 4 additional projectiles, as well as 140% increase projectile damage with the speed, and would have more bossing DPS because of the faster prog speed. Not that Deadeye's prog speed is bad, but that will be higher damage. That is also another thing that's really hard to anticipate, exactly how much effectiveness, and I would be able to better anticipate this if I played a Lich Twister build before. Anyone who's played Lich Twister, can you tell me what the bossing DPS is like on that build? Does it just erase bosses? Especially if you've played Lich and Deadeye Endgame Twister build. I don't suppose there's a chatter out there who's done both of those things. If you dial as the owl, maybe. More speed makes up for bad map area. Well, that is big, because in the end, any boss fight with small map area, you're just going to delete the boss anyway. Because right now, there's 2 things that really make, whether, okay, so there's 3 things that really pull me toward Deadeye. 1, permanent 20% increased skill speed bonus, as well as evasion bonus that Abyssal, or that Spirit Walker won't have. And I actually care about the evasion bonus because I'm thinking about going parry in the end game, as well as the deflection buffs for that matter. 2 is frenzy charge generation for damage. So skill speed for Tailwind, frenzy charge generation from Cold Shot's Sniper's Mark. And then the frenzy charge, obviously the power of frenzy charge. But I think, I don't know about you guys, but I think the owl, the 2 owl ascendancies points together probably consist of as much, if not a little bit more power than the 2 Deadeye's frenzy charge ascendancy points, collectively speaking. Both when factoring in bossing as well as mapping. Do you guys think even with like 8-second internal owl cooldown, even if you only get 2 owl feathers on average per cast, do you think that's more power than the Deadeye frenzy charges? Because like the 50% chance to gain additional frenzy charge, that's not that amazing. The 50% chance to double the effect of the additional frenzy charges through barrage, that's what's incredible. You get 20% by default, plus 50%. So Deadeye has 70% chance to double the effect of frenzy charges. Spirit Walker would have 20%, not 70. Deadeye is a more smooth gameplay and more defense. Yeah, I mean, basically, faster, smoother whirling slash with more defense. And a lot of damage. Repeats deal 50% less damage. Yeah, that's a good point. Repeats deal 50% less damage. So that it's not all equal, I guess. That's not going to be a huge difference, though. That's not going to be a huge difference between, like, because either, so like for Spirit Walker, you would repeat a little less, but you would have more projectiles, but repeat fewer of them. It would be a little bit of consideration. I mean, I'm glad you made that point. It is true. Repeats deal 50% less damage, so it's not fair to just think, like, when you're trying to calculate what's the total number of twisters that come out, well, they're about even. Well, I guess if you're barrage heavy, then that's a little bit of a disadvantage. So it's kind of weird because, like, you get 4 twisters per attack plus 6 through salvo. You have 10. And then on average, Spirit Walker will have additional 4. So that's 14. Spirit Walker gets on average 14 twisters per attack if it's attacking once every 6 seconds. 5 or 6 seconds. Whereas Deadeye gets an average of 10 attacks per second, but gets more repeats. So the total number is very similar, actually. I think the total number is going to be similar. Again, that's assuming that Spirit Walker is getting frenzy charges just as easily as Deadeye, which is not the case. But that's a problem that has to be solved somehow. Combat Frenzy can totally... Combat Frenzy will be very good. Okay, so here's another thing I'm probably going to do. If I go Spirit Walker, League Starter. What's the unique amulet? I'm forgetting the name of it. I like this unique amulet. There's a couple that I like in here. Beacon of Asus is very good. Critical hits ignore monster elemental res with some spirit. But I really like Serpent's Egg. Serpent's Egg is especially good for non-Deadeye build that want to get good frenzy charges. Gain an additional charge when you gain a charge. It also would be nice for the power charges or any charge generation, actually. Really helps smooth over the build. In the beginning, in the early in-game, plus 20 all attributes is actually pretty freaking huge to get that. And you want that on an in-game roll anyway, but it's very expensive to get an amulet with 20 all attributes and other good rolls. The Chaos Res is a legitimately strong mod too. So this amulet, and the fact that it's a gold amulet is really nice too. You actually get rarity. So considering the implicit, this amulet has legitimately 3 very good affixes. Plus its build enabling affix. And then this is garbage, Mana Reservation. So you got to think also to yourself, especially like day 1, day 2, an amulet that has 3 S tier mods plus a special build enabling mod that is essentially worth, in my mind, at least 2 S tier mods. Effectively, like valuing, like trying to assign a value to that amulet. That's basically an endgame amulet in terms of value. Now, obviously, you tailor your endgame build so you don't need a unique amulet, so you actually get like real mods. And you're going to want Spirit too. Probably what I would do is I might set up a build that requires an additional 50 Spirit. And in the early endgame, it uses Serpent's Egg with a regular body armor that has Spirit roll on it. And then in the late endgame, it uses Hiri's Ire with a regular amulet that has Spirit on it. In which case, both builds would have about the same amount of Spirit. And you would presumably solve some of the issues with like charge generation into the late end game, and you would have even more defense. Anyway, you could have a unique body armor, Crimson Culture, Coming Calamity, Hiri's Ire, any of those that build enabling or build enhancing for sure body armors. That's probably that's kind of where I'm at in that. And so you could have like a similar amount of Spirit. You could have like the same Spirit setup from the early and end games. You would just shift the Spirit from the body armor into the amulet. That way. Primal Bounty is a skill with 5 support gems. That's a good point. That's actually a really good point. I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's take a look at this again. Well, here's the problem though. I mean, we don't see this right now, but it only has a trigger tag on it. The primal bounty doesn't... Okay, well, okay, hold on. Also, there's... Wait a minute, there's sacred unity. That's not going to do anything. Embrace of the wild. I don't know what you're going to socket into there. Other than Dialas or whatever. Like that. Uhtred's support. Mr. Cyclone Definitive, thank you for stopping by. Glad to see you here. We're not racing today. Sacred Unity gives 8% DR. Yeah, I'm probably either going to go Sacred Unity or Double Stag, depending on... Probably in the early in game it'd be Sacred Unity, and later on it might be Double Stag. Maybe, I don't know. I might like Sacred Unity more still. Gain a Vivid Wisp when Vivid Stampede ends probably doesn't really matter. I don't think it really matters. Actually, honestly, I don't think... I assume that this isn't going to matter. 20% more shock magnitude, it's not really enough. But wasn't this number... Wait, no, they updated it. It's 100% more shock magnitude, though. Yeah, that's right. It was 100% more shock magnitude. Which raises my eyebrows a little bit. I don't have the latest update to these numbers, by the way. This is like old data. All right. Any other comments on Frenzy Charges? Frenzy Charge generation for Spirit Walker? Are we going to have any marks? Like, what is the most convenient way to get a mark on a target if you're not a Deadeye? How does the trigger tag work? Would it be able to trigger Ice Tip with Frost Nexus? You cast it? Do I really have to hard cast it? Again, one of the things you're trying to do in the end game is remove buttons. You really don't want a hard cast mark. Pounce, can't use Pounce because you're going to use Spear in both sets. I'm going to be using Spear in both sets. We're talking Endgame. Not going to be using Wolf on the... Cast on Crit used to work. Prada had some massive Frenzy Charge generation. Well, what did he do? Did he just use Armor Break? Yeah, I don't know. Here, okay, so I'm giving you guys some like deep insight on here. One thing that got me really excited about ice-tipped arrows is it greatly improved motivation to try to go Trinity. Because one of the issues with doing Trinity on Twister is that like half your damage is physical anyway, so like, is it really that big of a deal? But if 100% of your damage is elemental, then Trinity is like godly, right? If you can unlock it. So another thing I'm trying to solve in the end game is how can I get Trinity into the build with ice-tipped arrows massively pushing the cold number up. One of the nice things about the Spirit Walker is shocked ground is a given, so shocked 50% more gains extra lightning damage, depending on how much flat lightning you have on the build. There's probably a way to balance that out with ice-tipped arrows conversion on physical, especially if you were to use an elemental spear. An elemental spear might be enabling for Trinity. This might be the one time I finally go an elemental spear in the end game. Blazing critical plus pinpoint critical on Whirling Slash. Probably can't use 2 supports on Whirling Slash. Maybe what supports did I use before? I would have to at least drop knockback support. There's 3 supports we devote to speed. It's Rage 3, Rapid Attacks 3, and Rigwald's Ferocity. So we really have to use 3 support there. So we do have 2 more. It could be that, yeah. Elemental Spear means you need Sky Sliver? No, I don't think so. Another question is about the Fire Scepter. I hope that's not the only way. I really want to try parry stuff, but the parry tech that I want to use is more tailored toward Deadeye, that's focusing really hard on evasion. There's a couple things I'm thinking in the late end game. Trinity with ice-tipped arrows for 100% elemental damage twisters. Parry with the buckler that allows you to parry at any range, which means when in between salvo attacks, you're because normally with Twister gameplay, especially single target, it feels kind of dumb in between Twister casts. You're just whirling, slashing in a circle around the boss, just fucking off, basically. You're not doing anything important at all. And so it would be nice to actually do something that is a meaningful enhancement to the damage, which would be, hey, the boss is still attacking and casting while the Twisters are flying around everywhere, and you're waiting for your next salvo round or owl round or whatever. And so why don't we just raise a buckler and parry him, and then he's suddenly taking 50% more damage plus other, other scalars to that if you care about it. Like, for example, this right here, parry buff magnitude and stuff. There's actually a lot of things here. You can make the boss take like 70% more damage or something like that. Basically the entire fight. Pretty much the entire fight, because you could also in the end game scale duration. In fact, parry duration. You can socket a bunch of gems into parry, and that's actually a lot of more damage. And its bosses are surprisingly parryable. A lot of bosses are, but some of them are really annoying because they're like spell heavy, and then it doesn't really work because you have to be like on top of their hitbox for it to work, which is normally kind of there anyway, but with that buckler, you can be at any range. I don't know how effective. I have a feeling it would be nice to use in maps early on, but like later on it'd be redundant. You probably would never parry in maps except on boss. So it would really be like a boss tech only thing. I'll try to play a Giga duration Twister build with owls. Yeah. I mean, of course you would scale duration. You would really want to use prolonged duration for sure. His buckler's 50% increased damage with less than 100 spirit though. Well, also there have been some changes last league that GG didn't completely fix, but they did like partial fixes on some things with like spirit, differing spirit setups. Like putting spirit on weapons at 1 and then other things on weapons at 2. And I remember, I need to revisit this. This is something I need to test. But I remember, like for example, it used to be that Combat Frenzy snapshotted on whichever weapon set you're on. So you put Combat Frenzy on weapons at 2 where Twister was attacking, and then you have Whirling Slash weapons at 1. And if you cast or attacked with Twister on weapons at 2, the entire time it's going out, you've already switched back to weapons at 1, and you're using, Whirling Slash. And then you would get the Frenzy charges from Combat Frenzy while in weapon set 1 active. It would be on the back end giving you Frenzy charges through the snapshotted Combat Frenzy that was active when you attacked with Twister. So even though you were currently in weapon set 1, you would still reap Frenzy charges from freezing enemies with Twisters that had nothing to do with what you were doing in weapon set 1, even though it turned off in weapon set 1. That got changed so that you no longer snapshot. It's only active when it's active. Which means, for example, when you cast Twister, and even though you're like switching over to Whirling Slash immediately after, for that split second when you're attacking with Twister, Combat Frenzy is active, and you get the you get the Frenzy charges from freezing enemies, but you only get them if weapon set 2 is active in that exact moment. Now I still need to test this, but I think I'm pretty sure that Trinity also doesn't work. I'm actually, Trinity might not have worked ever this way. I can't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure Elemental. What's the one that gives you a huge % more damage on the rotating elements? That one. I'm pretty sure that did work. Snapshotting. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that did work. Snapshot, because I remember looking at the damage skill pane window thing. Elemental conflicts, yeah. I think that no longer works, maybe. So I need to check this again, but I'm pretty sure the snapshot, this whole snapshotting, maybe somebody can confirm with me whether that works still or not. Does elemental conflict still snapshot with Twister the whole time, even though you have weapons, the opposite weapon set active, and it's then spirit is deactivated at the time? I'm afraid that they've basically ruined dividing spirit buffs in this way. That was really, obviously, really intuitive and cool, and a little bit questionable in terms of like how it should be set up. You could call it a little bit buggy, maybe. That was a setup in 0.3. It was extremely powerful and made huge use of spirit, dividing things that way. If it still works, then I'll probably go with Scepter way. We'll probably go Scepter because here's why. If you can fit Trinity, and this is what I did in 0.3, if you can fit Trinity into the build with 100% elemental damage and get it to actually work with all three elements, and you can still snapshot elemental conflux on top of it, and like you can snapshot like elemental conflux, which is very cheap now, by the way, way cheaper than 0.3. In 0.3 it was 100 spirit elemental conflux. Now it's only 60. So you could like snapshot that and like some other things, like maybe combat frenzy. Still use charge regulation across all. We will not, with Spirit Walker especially, we will not need the haste chill ground pet. And so the Scepter would just give you 100 spirit for free. That's where you would put Elemental Conflicts +1, probably Combat Frenzy. Actually, you do +2. So you can get right, because you can get 160 spirit or 120 spirit on a Scepter, because you can corrupt it plus an additional socket, or just, what was it, like two sockets? I can't remember the exact number, but I think. Oh, one thing I put in there actually was, one thing Cam put in there is Blasphemy, Elemental Weakness, next to Spirit. But that's a little tricky. There's also the solution of Monster Elemental Res. You have the options to go Elemental Pen, which you're not going to do with Trinity. You have the Coming Calamity, which automatically solves it. So this is, in my mind, a lot of what I'm thinking is taking the 0.3 and plugging it into Spirit Walker, almost one for one. The super endgame, the Coming Calamity, Trinity, Elemental Conflux, the extreme power of all that. And I think it would make a very, very powerful endgame build, but pretty glassy. And I'm also considering the more defensive side with parry and all that stuff. So there's the glassy side with all the elemental damage, the heralds and stuff, and then there's the defensive side with a ton of evasion, ghost dance, parry, perhaps. What defense is you going if Spirit Walker? Well, I mean, conventional defenses in my mind is evasion heavy with ghost dance and maybe some emphasis on deflection and parry. But I don't know. I still don't know yet. What do you guys think sounds better? The defensive setup or glassy Coming Calamity setup? That Coming Calamity setup is basically like double the clear and triple the damage than the defensive setup, in case you're wondering. But you need defensive hyper endgame. If everything is dead, do we need new deflect is easy to get. I do like the idea of deflection if it's good. Trinity plus Yoke of Suffering. I've had Yoke of Suffering on my radar before, but It's a little bit too expensive to make early endgame viable. Is it worth going for Hiri's Ire after the nerf? I mean, it would be if you were trying to go Ghost Dance, probably. Obviously, huge synergy with Hiri's Ire and Ghost Dance. Yeah, I mean, I really do like the idea of going deflection too. One thing that's kind of leading me is, somebody said it earlier, Deadeye is more tuned to defenses, ironically, and Spirit Walker is more tuned to like just raw damage. And I think it's definitely true with how I would set these up. I would be much more inclined to go glassy with Spirit Walker and more inclined to perhaps favor defenses with Deadeye. The evasion and deflection options, Ghost Dance options with Tailwind already playing straight into that. You know, you don't want to get hit hardly ever. When you do get hit, you don't automatically die. You still got like some decent recovery. I think you make one hell of a good defensive Deadeye Twister build. I think that is that is definitely doable. Also, the Spirit Walker does have 8% DR automatically from the Bear Companion, which I assume is up almost 100% of the time. Consecrated Ground, not going to really matter with Soaring Ground. This Tailwind stack with Onslaught? Yeah, it does. We're getting a lot of people in here yet. 190 people. Yeah, I'm aware Ghost Dance is higher internal cooldown. I'm not too worried about that. Rarely ever get hit. You honestly rarely ever get hit. You know, it's crazy. Your Buckler idea fits more on Glass Cannon build since 100% damage reduction. Yeah, you're kind of right. So the interesting thing about parry also is that it would give you an automatic get out of jail free card on any sort of incoming damage you're about to take. So even if you're about to take like a hit that does 10, that would kill you with like 10x overkill, you take no damage from it. Now you get knocked on your ass for like 2 seconds, but you know, there are some boss fights where it's like, if only I avoid this attack, then I will survive. You know, you don't even have to avoid it. You just put the parry up. So that is a viable, you know, get out of jail free card. Spire of Ire. What do we have here? What do we have here? Spire. Spire of Ire. Where is that on there? How to parry? Well, you just have to simply face the target and channel it. I'm afraid if I try to go the Trinity route, there's just going to be no way to get enough fire damage. With ice-tipped arrows, there's going to be no way to get enough fire damage without that unique fire scepter. I don't know how I'm going to get the damage for that. The fire damage. We'll probably might have to go like fizz, flat fire on the spear. How come I get stunned when I parry? Well, if you parry and you don't block, don't evade, then you take the real damage, and then the damage you take is too high that it fills up your whole stun bar, then you get stunned. If you parry and then try to parry instantly after it, and instantly after that, your stun bar filled up and you get stunned. You can't just like spam parry everything. Unless you have 95% chance to evade and chance to block, and then you just sort of rolling the dice, and as long as you don't roll a 20 out of 20, you're good. You can just like spam parry everything. I think that sounds pretty fun too, like especially in maps. Imagine just like anytime you want to, anytime you're taking damage and you're worried or something, you need recovery to kick in or something, just buckler up, just parrying everything into oblivion. Just parry, parry, parry. It's just like pump, 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 you just, and you basically never, you essentially never get hit. And then with deflection on top of that, even when it does roll, the dice do roll 20 out of 20, you're still deflecting a huge amount of it. Parried monkey into oblivion. Yeah. There's no reason to die on monkey with a buckler, because anytime he attacks, you just parry, and his attacks are so infrequent that you'll always be back up and good to go. Is Salvo support nerf or the same? It's the same, but in terms of practical gameplay, it's buffed marginally. Will Twister brick the game again? Quiet. Be quiet. Yeah. There's a buckler that gives a bunch of levels for elements. No. Wait, actually, hold on. Wait, actually, does that get out? Actually, yeah, you're right. Huh, interesting. Let me look here. What do I have to click? Shield? What's that item called? I don't remember. Sun Splinter. This always rolls +3, 2, and 1, so this would be +6 levels of Trinity. Quite a bit of evasion. .2 meter twist. What? You're getting 1.2 meter? Is it worth it though? I don't know. Plus levels, the Trinity is pretty strong. If you're just doing it specifically for that, it's not that good, because this is not going to increase your level of Twister at all. That's kind of bad. But if you go from, like, this would allow you to get way beyond, like, level 30 Trinity. I don't think you get 36. 1% more physical damage. You could probably reach 33, which would be pretty crazy. 9% more damage as opposed to 8. But I don't know. I like that. That would basically get you from 8 to 9. Yeah, exactly. All that would do is give you from 8 to 9, because you got to work pretty hard to get 8. On the Deadeye build, I reached level 27. That was 21 plus Dialos plus Utrids, I think. Plus maybe, plus like an amulet roll or something like that. I think. So, maybe. I don't remember. Anyway, I hit level 27 for 8% more damage per 30 resonance. They should buff Twister to have fire, cold, and lightning tags. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Sure. Imagine it's like dynamic so that it only has a tag if it has the elemental ground. Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily good. This is the buckler that I have in mind. There's a few on here that sound interesting, but like there's one with critical weakness, but I don't want to rely on critical weakness for a Twister crit chance. Infinite parry range. So again, just imagine you're in a map and you're getting like off-screened by these stupid ass like spellcasters or something. You just put parry up and everything's just parried instantly. And then imagine you put Frenzied Riposte. Imagine you put this socketed into Whirling Slash and you just whirl through everything and just get a bunch of Frenzy Charge. Or you don't, and you just, everything just sits there with a bunch of, 50% more damage debuffs sitting on there. A caster could be off screening you from like 2 screens away and you're still parrying it with that buckler on. That's what makes it so crazy. That's what really makes it. I still have to test this, actually. I haven't technically tested this, so somebody knows for sure. I'm pretty sure you can parry caster damage from like off screen, which normally in order to parry a caster, you have to be right on their hitbox. It's got to be right there in melee range. I think especially if I go Spirit Walker, I'm kind of morally obligated to do the defensive Twister build, because I think that would make the masses most happy. Yeah, Kevin, thank you for telling me. I did the same thing on Monk last league. That's it. That's almost exactly what I did. I didn't put Exploit Weakness on Whirling Slash. I had it on Elemental Expression for a similar thing, but anyway. I'm a little curious how reliable Exploit Weakness on Whirling Slash was on bosses. If that's actually way more reliable than I anticipated it is, I might do that, because it wasn't all that good with Elemental Expression. A Whirling Slash would be more frequency. In the end game, well, also in the early end game, you're not like 0 to armor break in the blink of an eye. But the damage with physical twisters way worse. I know. Well, no, there's also this option here. Material solidification. I don't know how much. I don't know if this can carry. I don't think this will be able to carry armor break by itself if you're using ice-tipped arrows, because it would be literally the only source of physical damage you would have. You have 8% gain as extra. Last league on the Monk, I had to use the core amount of physical damage I had on the build, which was again like a third to half the total damage of Twister, plus this gain is 8% is extra physical damage with the increased effect of broken nodes, in order to get a sort of like break everything's armor in the blink of an eye, or especially bosses. But this is easily accessible, probably, if you're going, for this jewel slot, struck through AoE nodes. Have you thought about Twister on Martial Artist? Yeah, but also one other major negative to so a couple major negatives to going the Resonance Keystone setup. One is, first of all, anti-synergetic with Trinity. So, as well as ice-tipped arrows. So, I don't know about you guys, but I think ice-tipped arrows is probably worth using in the endgame, because it's just another skill you have to press in between the whole time you're waiting on salvo anyway. And it would contribute to... And there's a lot of things you could do with it, by the way. Potentially, and with all the links you can put in, you can make it like pure damage. You could try to get supports out of those ice fragments. Granted, they're probably not going to mean much on maps, even with even if you use short fuse 3, which or whatever it is, with or short fuse 2, it's the one that gives you like 80% faster rate of explosion. You can use ice tipped only for bosses? Yeah, okay. So there might be some tech that you could use, some like quality. You could turn it into a quality of life link and somehow. Or maybe... Actually, maybe you could use... Couldn't you just put the resin, or couldn't you just put what is it? Not armor break, not armor break, but if you could somehow armor break with frost or with ice tipped arrows, just with this material solidification, maybe. I mean, exploit weakness could maybe go on ice tipped arrows. You could also anoint something else. There's another one here. I forget where it's at. Yeah, this one here. You can anoint Dangerous Blossom. So you would have 18% gain as extra physical. Those are the only two sources, I think. If you're gonna armor break just for frenzy charges, it's better to just pin. No, pin with combat frenzy? No, I wouldn't do that. You can, like, the internal cooldown's too high on that. Combat frenzy. Unless you meant, like, pin with armor break or something. You can't do armor break into ice tipped. There's no way you would successfully break armor with ice tip. There's no way it would do enough damage by itself. You would have to put that in Twister. Maybe you could do it on both. We talking about Rare Spear or Tangle Tongue? Well, I mean, right now in my mind, I want to consider Tangle Tongue most of all, if anything, because people are going to use Tangle Tongue for a long time. I will say, Onslaught. Here's something that's interesting though. Deadeye does not really get access to Onslaught in the early endgame, not with Tangle Tongue, because you really need that perfect haste essence on the primary damage spear, and if you're using Tangle Tongue, you don't have it. So in a weird way, like in the beginning, Spirit Walker does compete with Deadeye's pure speed, because it would have. Well, to be fair, with Deadeye in the early in game, I always used that ring, Onslaught ring, which, you know, made the build really hard to flesh out with res and stuff. But you know, that's how I got Tailwind plus Onslaught in the beginning. I never recommended it in a build guide though, because it's really, you're really stretching the build thin hard when you use that. I'm not interested in going Abyssal Leech in 0.5. I understand it's a good build, but I'm already torn enough between Deadeye and Spirit Walker. I think right this second, I'm about 70-30. 70% Spirit Walker, 30% Deadeye. What do you guys think about that? Got some notes here. I'm trying to figure things out. Are you trying to break it? Are you taking Bub's build and putting your own spin on it? Oh my god. I might be a, guys, I might, for the first time in my entire life, I might be a meta cuck. It's soul crushing to say that. I hate the sound of it. Why does it have to be like this? Why is what I'm doing have to become the meta? That's so bad. That's so lame. I'm gonna lose so much respect for myself if I suddenly do the meta thing or become the meta thing. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being a meta cuck? Ugh. I don't think I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror for another 2 days now after saying that. It's shame. Such shame. Alright, looks like we're going martial artist Twister this time, guys. Don't worry, we're not doing meta. No way, you can't do meta. I would unfollow instantly. That's below you, get more faster. You're losing out on a ton of future followers if you don't go Spirit Walker. I know. I'd rather that not weigh into my decision, but it does, honestly, a little bit. Because the truth of the matter is, I am gonna be like officially partnered with Mobalytics this time for the first time, and so anything I do on there, like if I hit like a breakout, if I get a breakout build guide or whatever, it's gonna be featured and everything on there. So it would be pretty rad if all that happened all at once. You know, everything just kind of, all things just kind of came together at once. You can always switch to Deadeye later in the in-game. Yeah, I just really hate how, like, I want to favor a more defensive build, but it'll build so much better into the Deadeye's tech than it will a Spirit Walker. We want Deadeye. You guys can't even make up your minds. You guys can't even make up your mind. And then there's like the side crowd of like leech absolutists, like the leech. Make a poll. Can make a poll. All right, let me do that on the back end here, real quick. Make a poll. If I remember how to set this up. Poll, manage poll. Okay. I gotta come up with some funny answers here. All right, duration 2 minutes. Here we go. Twitch poll. Deadeye or Spirit Walker? Which one? Which one is it? Wait to see this. What? Go leech. Whoa! Wow, how is Spirit Walker winning so bad? Oh my god. What? Where is Gemling? It's not even worth putting on the poll. Gemling's cringe. Talk about having an identity crisis. That entire Ascendancy screams identity crisis. And you want me to put it on here when I'm trying to figure out what Twister build to play? Come on. I've tried all builds for Twister. Well, that's why I put Lich on there, okay? I put an honorable mention because, you know, Lich Twister is kind of like the goth crowd at school, you know. You don't ever talk about them, but they are there, and every once in a while you gotta give them a little bit of recognition. Might as well just rename it Goth Twister. Wow. 71%. 70. It sounds like you guys want me to go Spirit Walker. I guess I gotta go Spirit Walker. Last second to get your votes in. I can't believe this poll. I can. I'm not that surprised to see the results. I would have laughed if Leech got higher than Deadeye. Spirit Walker wins 29 to 7 to 5. All right. All right. I'm going to do... Okay. Assuming that nothing else changes on the notes, I'm going to plan Spirit Walker. You guys convinced me. I told you I needed your help today. You just didn't know how. I said I needed your help figuring out all the tech and coming out with like this and that. But actually, I just needed your help in a poll, and you just tell me what to play, and I'm just gonna play it. It was all vibes. I just needed you guys' vibes. That's all. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We do have some information we're still trying to work out. I suppose I can test armor break stuff. Okay, so let's see here. I'm gonna test armor break 3 plus ice tipped arrows plus exploit weakness. Or warland slash plus crumple up Deadeye and throw it in the trash? Bro, that's some harsh language. That is harsh. No, poor Deadeye, our sister from another mister or something like that. Well, I mean, we gotta show some respect, all right? There's not that big of a difference between Huntress and Deadeye. Exploit weakness can't be on the same skill that breaks the armor, though. No. It's Twister plus armor break with either ice tipped arrows exploit weakness or whirling slash exploit weakness. I'm not putting... You can't put armor break on ice tipped arrows. It's not going to work. I can already tell you that's not going to work. I went to see how Fubgun was reacting to notes earlier, and as soon as I joined, he was crying Twister wasn't nerfed. You had me at crying. I mean, I didn't need to read the rest of it, but alright. Deadeye is hotter than Spirit Walker. Actually, I don't think so. I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong. Actually, we're going to find out. I think you're wrong. Hold on. I noticed this when I started... So I was playing Deadeye... Like constant, like League starting Deadeye. So I saw the Deadeye character get up off the beach like 100 times. So if I say I got pretty used to it, okay? And if we just go in here. Oh. Alright, if we just go in here and we'll watch the Deadeye for a second. I want you to pay close attention to how hot the Deadeye is when she gets up from this stance, okay? It's a little bit of butt jiggle. A little bit, I mean, especially that end, which is like, okay. Alright, so you have that. Not bad. But then when we do the same thing on the Huntress, now I want you to see the difference, okay? I noticed this first time I did this. Alright, similar stance, similar character model. I think they changed something slightly. I don't know, it looks like there's more butt jiggle. Especially when she plants a left foot, when she first gets her stance up. I think it's a little bit more. Anyway, I just figured I'd point that out. I'm convinced. Huntress it is. Yeah. Yeah, basically. I mean, you know, sometimes when you're right on the fence about these things, you gotta pull out all the stops. You're just flipping a coin at this point. That's just genetics. Your body craved the barbarian wild ghost. I wonder if they... I do actually wonder, like, what finite different character model changes were made between those two, because they're basically identical. But there's something in my mind that looks at it and was like, I think, did they make her ass bigger? I mean, it's tiny, like a tiny bit. She got a little thicker, just a tiny. I mean, it's a huntress. You would think maybe a huntress would be a little thicker than Deadeye. Probably. Probably. So, if you want to be like me and watch that huntress ass as she gets up off the beach, then you're going to roll Spirit Walker just like me. Where's young Wydock when we need him? I need his comment. I suppose that's going to determine whether I go Here's Eye or Coming Calamity. Which one shows off her ass better? I don't know. Now I'm going to have to test that. Now, okay, I got to test. Looks maxing. Coming. I'm just kidding. Coming Calamity versus Island. Okay. Any serious questions for me? Ice tipped with exploit, and Twister with break is not working. It does work well with exploit on Herald of Ice or Thunder. Well, with ice tipped arrows, are you using? It doesn't matter if it's working on trap. Are you using it on boss? Is that a pinnacle? Gratham MOBA partnership, I think. Why am I not able to scroll up? What the hell? Yeah, so if you test exploit weakness, only test it on boss and test with short fuse 2. Okay, short fuse 2 with yeah, short fuse 2 I think is 80% faster. So I mean that those ice crystals are gonna go off really fast. Ice fragments, sorry. Are you gonna make a Spirit Walker build guide for League Start? Yeah, I will. I said I was gonna make a Deadeye League Starter too. I'll probably just kind of have that as a bonus somewhere. Or maybe I'll make a separate video about it. It's gonna look almost identical. Like the difference in leveling is basically, okay. So for Deadeye, you from here you go these 3, but for Huntress you go these 3 or these 4. Okay, so it's these 3 versus these 4. It's like the only difference in pathing, and then the Ascendancy is different, but functionally everything's going to play the same. Because you're still going to use Salvo on both builds. You're still going to run it, you know. Frenzy Charges focus on one, and Owl focus on the other. It's not going to change anything you play. I guess the only difference really would be, or yeah, like even for Deadeye. So for Elemental Ground, you just automatically get it through the Stag for the Spirit Walker, and then for Deadeye, you automatically get it through Called Shots with Mark. I don't even think I have to do anything different. Like if I build both of them defensively, they would still play the same. Now again, I mentioned before that with Spirit Walker, I'd be more inclined to go Glass Cannon, just by the nature of like, well, specifically how Deadeye synergizes so well with evasion, and I feel more compelled to do evasion parry stuff with Deadeye maybe. And Spirit Walker, I might instead go like focus more on Trinity and Scepter gameplay with Coming Calamity. But probably what I'll do is I'll just bite the bullet and go with the defensive route anyway with Spirit Walker, and then later on we'll build a super endgame Giga blasting glass cannon character out of it. You know, just kind of what I did in 0.3 anyway. Is surround tech still viable? Yeah, we would do surround tech with that. And what that looks like is in the beginning. The early endgame version, your entire passive tree is like right here. All this right in here. Okay. And you go crit both ways. All this right here. You get some energy shield stuff. You get, I mean, maybe, actually, if we do the armor break route, that will only work by going up here because you have to get resonance. But, no, that's not true because in both cases, you would at least path up here, right? You still go this way because this is like God tier metamorphosis gem spot, so you would still just like extra 3 points. But with the glass cannon setup, you would remove a lot of points up here with like, again, this is awkward too with the glass cannon setup. With the glass cannon setup, you gotta put points all the way down here for surround tech and stuff. You get different AoE wheel, but you gotta path all the way down here. And over here we have both like resonance keystone if we do that tech, We got Anticipation, which we're going to want to get anyway. Maybe it can be anointed. I don't know. With ice-tipped arrows, it massively elevates this elemental wheel. Like, just crazy massive. Like, the elemental wheel is, like, mediocre with Twister when half of its damage is physical. But it's, like, godly with 100% elemental damage. Also, one thing I'm not factoring in that I've kind of forgot about is before, when we were running in 0.3, this AoE wheel was required in order to get a breakpoint of Twister. Like, we had this, what was it, like 4% or 5% AoE on the time lost jewels up here, but that was with the keystone that was right here, which no longer exists. And so hitting 0.7 Twisters, I think, required both a lot of AoE down here and stuff. Anyway, that was before we had AoE wheels up here. So the entire area up here has been strengthened a lot for Twister since 0.3, between 0.3 and 0.4. You should really check Oracle Twister builds. Well, I'm not interested in Oracle Twister. Like, I'm just not interested. I mean, I understand it might be something good about it, but this is for the same reason I'm not interested in Abyssal Lich. I'm already torn between two ideas. One is going full best overall Twister build Deadeye versus doing the new thing, the new flavor thing. And you guys help me decide. I guess we're going to go Spirit Walker. Make the people happy. So let's take a look at Deflection too. Deflection also favors up here. Do we have good... Do you guys think Deflection will be worth taking on the passive tree? Or is that not going to be worth taking? I remember this node was pretty strong. This was like the only one that felt kind of strong. What about Merc Tactician? I don't know. Also, this was okay. Why is Invoker bad in 0.5? Last season it was so good. It's not bad in 0.5. Invoker is just weaker. Invoker is just more niche and kind of like Abyssal Lich Twisters. You don't really see the dividends in terms of real power of Invoker until you have like level 35 plus Spark. Okay? Like, you need to have like super gear to see the huge dividends from that. The Invoker in the early end game is just kind of a mixed bag. It's partially attack damage, partially spell damage. It's a really cool build. I even submitted it for build of the week, but its actual power is not that amazing. The fact that Twister is as strong as it is carries it, but like the spark damage is kind of you know, when your spark level is just like level 24 or something, it's like, okay. Good comms on Short Fuse, it does work. I haven't tested on Pinnacle bosses yet. This character is newer, working on map bosses though. I mean, if you test high-level map bosses, it should be fine. I kind of like the idea of having Combat Frenzy power charges, because that will allow us to get endurance charges again through and in a intuitive way. So the nice thing about the Resonance Keystone plus endurance charge tech, if you guys remember with the monk I used last time, a viewer helped me out. This was actually the #1 tech that was given to me by a viewer. The biggest tech revelation from a viewer last league was on Wind Dancer. Let's see if I can pull it up here. I have it here somewhere. Spark Twist, yeah. Wind Dancer Culmination Eyeless Chimes Charge Profusion. Pretty wild that this actually works. I would have had no idea that you could do this, because normally you can't socket Eyeless Chime. Like, I can't remember, but you had to like socket. You had to put Culmination in here first, I think. So what this does is, culmination reads off of whirling slash. And so naturally, you don't even have to think about this. When you're naturally whirling slashing, you're building a ton of combo points for Wind Dancer of all things, which nobody gives a shit about Wind Dancer's damage. The only reason it's here is because it procs Eyeless Chimes and gives you literally, like, in most cases, 3 full endurance charges. Once it goes off, just instantly, 3 full endurance charges. And then you have that with... Where did that? Oh yeah, charge regulation. This is a 20% more defense multiplier when you have endurance charge. And this works against bosses. In fact, it's super reliable against bosses because, you know, at a certain point, boss is going to hit you with something random. And you're doing a lot of whirling slash on boss either way. So it's really nice to get that. And charge regulation's been buffed in that it doesn't... It's super important that... One of the problems with trying to get endurance charges before with this whole setup is that you only got one at a time, and then it would get ripped off by charge regulation really fast. And so it's like, uptime was terrible. But because of how culmination works with Eyeless Chimes and all the combo point stacking that you have here, is that you typically get 2 or even 3 endurance charges all at once, and that's going to last the entire fight. That's an entire boss fight with Twister. That's assuming that you're not just like one-tapping the boss, obviously, but it's also very high uptime in maps, and the only way that it's not up in maps is if you are literally just never getting hit, which obviously means you don't need the defenses if you're literally never getting hit. And so it doesn't matter, like, it's just tech that's there. It's highly intuitive tech because it gives you the defensive power only if you're getting hit, which means you only need the defensive power if you're ever getting hit. So super intuitive. I love it. Absolutely love that sort of game design. Really amazing, cool tech, extremely intuitive, and very impactful since it's one of the only sources of percent more defenses that you can get. Global percent more defense that you can get on a build. Wouldn't this tech work on stags? Yeah, probably. Yeah, it probably would. So, I mean, it would be less intuitive because you're getting a defensive buff when you're doing damage, but no, that probably does. Yeah, there's a lot of things we can do with that I haven't really factored in yet. So, I think with the bear, let's assume that we would go the soaring ground, because I think especially in the beginning, before I get onslaught, I'm going to want the soaring ground for onslaught, if nothing else. Bear Spirit Embrace of the Wild. They may have a link to like the Reddit post or something that shows all this stuff again in its most updated form. I don't know where the most updated information about this. Stag is all about shock magnitude. Well, yeah, kind of. That's why I was thinking of making... of using overcharge support on Stag and then having Soaring Ground give Consecrated Ground with reduced... So even though you're shocked. This could become a very easy self-shock build. I don't know if you get... I mean, every build can be an easy self-shock build with overcharge support, but I don't know if there's any benefit to self-shock in this game right now. I don't think there is yet. GGG hasn't released those items. Maybe there's a new unique. Self-shock unique. There is an immune to shock belt. You have any bossing showcase for Twister Spark? I don't really. It's not a great bossing build. I never even really did bosses. Once I got locked into the temple, I just did the temple. And not the Atsiri temple fight. So if this tech works with resonance, exploit weakness, if it's like super reliable, like you guys are suggesting, that That actually does solve frenzy charge. Like, it has to be super reliable against bosses. I can't remember who was testing it before, but maybe we can. Maybe I kind of want to know myself. Okay, something I want to test. We can use this character to test this. Legacy Vertex. I wonder what that's gonna be worth. What do you guys think this Vertex helmet will be worth in standard right now? Holy. This thing will be expensive. Maybe I can sell it for a mirror right now. Right now. Oh yeah. Also, we need to test to see if my stream doesn't lag at the beginning anymore. I did a couple things like removing the shade files, shader files, and a few other things. Crazy. Have I tipped arrows right here? Okay. Hard casting freezing mark, really? Level 31, ice tipped arrow. Damn. 320. I didn't even know I had a mirror on me. Okay. Fortune. Please tell me I got some cut. I don't even need to be that short fuse. Still taking those points? No. Hmm. What can I pull points out of? Oh yeah, isn't there a way to like get armor break with chaos damage? I forgot about this. This could still be a really good one of these if we're doing parry. That's a lot of stun threshold, but probably not worth taking. Generally speaking, I think there's probably another one that's better. But I still like this one down here. Actually, yeah, if you take this one, you can get a whole bunch of evasion. And skill effectuation and cooldown recovery too. Ooh. Can't be light stun if you haven't been hit recently. It's really good for an evasion build. This Crimson Assault will be a very good spot for evasion based builds. You could even take this. Companions have max life and increased life recovery rate while companions in your presence. Dolly, what up, man? Morning. Are you gonna play with new Ascendancy? I mean, we've all but decided. I'm basically committed now to playing Spirit Walker. After all said and done, it was decided in a rudimentary poll of all things. This is a strong node too for frenzy charges. Skill speed, if you've consumed a frenzy charge recently, that's pretty high uptime between charge regulation and all that. Calling an enemy with supportive skill. Ooh. Oh, this could be up a lot. Maybe. Or it could go into the... Yeah, Thrill of the Kill could probably be somewhere either in the Stag point or Frost Tip arrows. How do we get... Call? What do we have? Call here? Call? Yeah, so I think this is like one of the only things we'll be able to put in Primal Bounty with the owl thing. I think you'll be able to put this in there. Sorry, not that. It's a support skill attack, but it's an empowering skill. Supportive skills have Culling Strike against rare or unique enemies. Wait, no, that's not right. Sorry, that's not right. Where? Oh. Is it not in the game now, or is it going to be new, or is it like a legacy support gem? Maybe it's a legacy support gem, I didn't realize. Maybe it's legacy support. That empowered attacks and empower other ones. Yeah, actually, that's a legacy support gem, I think. I mean, it could still be a good place to put this. There's other things you could do with it. Alright, so if we go into a map... Wait, monsters are armored. Well, okay, I mean, see armor. Chaotic Freeze Tech? Meta Bay 85. Why you hurt my feelings? Why you gonna hurt my feelings? Guys, I don't even have 200 viewers on Twitch. It's not, I'm not meta. I'm not making the meta, okay? Gotta have like 2,000 viewers on Twitch to be a meta maker. Okay? So we shouldn't get in the frenzy charges at all. Wait, I'm gonna have stags and cats running around? Stream stuttering again? Oh, really? It is, yeah. Damn, that's crazy. Oh, it's actually stuttering really bad. Wow, okay, I might have to revisit. I did change a few things in the settings. I mean, it's the first time I'm doing combat today, so maybe it won't be as bad. It didn't lag for me on my end, though, so that's alarming. I'm gonna have to go into the NVIDIA app. I think I can go into the NVIDIA app and change things there. Wait, why do I have frenzy charges? Oh, combat frenzy, right. Or no, wait, what? Isn't the only way I'm getting endurance charges from... Wait a minute. Oh, I probably just didn't cast ice-tipped arrows. Should say 0 physical damage. Why does it say physical damage? I have it on ice. I have it on weapon set 2. I think I was just using Twister without weapon set 2 active. So this won't give any frenzy charges, right? Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm going to change the spec a little bit. And we will see if I get any frenzy charges. One, two, three. Oh, didn't do that one. I mean, I don't have any headhunter buffs when I walk in and do the test, so it's fine. No frenzy charges. Armor's not breaking with just that. Oh, it's not gonna show the guy. Try pin? Why would I do pin? What does armor break have to do with pin? Might not be able to use ice-tipped arrows. This character is so strong, too. Like, such overkill for this. I don't know, let me run to the boss. Okay, I did see the armor break beginning there. You only have 1,400 armor broken before. I don't know the full amount. Why would he use Rage Forge? What's the purpose of that? It's more damage. That has no purpose in what I'm testing here. You're suggesting to me like a generic change to the build. I don't care about that right now. I'm just testing. Trying to test to see if I can somehow get armor to break on enemies with just 8% damage gain as extra physical. With ice-tipped arrows. The idea is to somehow combine like a Trinity build or just like maybe use ice-tipped arrows in an endgame build. It's probably not necessary. Probably just, I mean, I can just omit ice-tipped arrows, not use it at all. Converts 100%. Yeah, but this still... percent gain is extra physical is a separate final multiplier. So you still get 8%. You actually do get 8% on top of everything else as physical. Like it did start to break the boss's armor a little bit. But the boss died before his armor was fully broken. So that's kind of what I was anticipating would probably happen. Yeah, this is always a tug of war between like killing an enemy before or after it breaks its armor. That's why this is usually needed. Only if you have a huge amount of physical damage, like a lot of physical damage in the build, will this work this way. But here's the thing though, like I really don't want to have to sacrifice a damage support for this. But at least I know that I have a way to get frenzy charges very reliably in this build if I want to, with Resonance Keystone. I'll probably just do it this way anyway. So I'll probably have the same exact supports that you see here, except I'll have Retreat 3 instead of Life Leech. No, the Anoint's not going to work on top of it. It's not going to be enough. Plus, I don't want to make it that hard to do it. You don't want to use Combat Frenzy? Well, I am using Combat Frenzy, and it's giving me power charges with this setup. I mean... this is my Spark Twister Invoker Monk build. But if I'm not using ice-tipped arrows because I have to get frenzy charges that way, then I'm less inclined to use Trinity. Although if I'm going up the Resonance Keystone, that means I'm invariably getting some energy shield nodes, evasion nodes access, more defensive build, which is fine, I guess. We could just make this a non-Trinity variant. Well, ironically, it would be easier for Trinity to get pulled off if I'm not using ice-tipped arrows, because it's not like overloading cold damage. It would still do a respectable amount of cold damage, I think. Yeah, I kind of wonder if there's any way I can get Freezing Mark into the build. I guess not. So we could put... actually, yeah, there's something else I want to test. Mirage Archer? I can't cast marks? I don't think so. That map was monsters are armored, but... I would want it to work through that modifier anyway. I don't really think that's gonna do what I want it to. I wasn't using a mark in this build. So with the owl, it would look kind of like this, and then I like to dodge roll right after casting Twister, just kind of naturally. I forgot how crazy mana hungry this is. Actually, this build will probably be broken with on account of the mana leech issue. Except that empowered attacks leech. Wait, is it instant still? Was it life leech or only? Was it only life leech? Life leech only. Ooh. Mana leech is gonna be a problem. Mana leech is actually gonna be a problem next league. How are we gonna get mana recovery, guys? Yeah, I think this build might be broken at 0.5 with a lack of mana recovery. Just run Defy. Siphon Mark. No, it's not gonna... It would have to be instant mana leech. No, even that won't work. It's gonna have to be... The only way to get decent leech in 0.5 will be instant leech for Twister. I'm gonna have to do like a real boss, I think. 8,000 armor broken. Armor's broken. Yeah, hold on. Let me do a real fight. Yeah. What in the world? It's gonna cost a lot. Reach splinters cost a lot right now. What? Wait, maybe a divine orb works. What? What is this ratio, dude? 10 divines for 60. 1 divine for 6 breach splinters, guys. Log in. Farm your breach splinters right now. Get paid. I'm just kidding. Divines aren't worth anything anymore, apparently. Oh my god. Why didn't I stockpile breach stones? I didn't know. Oh my god. Alright, maybe if I buy for a mirror? Hey, actually a decent number. I actually accidentally clicked that. Imagine the guy waking up with breach splinters sold for a mirror. Alright, hold on. Let's see what does a mirror cost. 10,877 divines! Oh my god. I actually have that too. That's a funny thing. Oh, I didn't want to go in here. Easy mirror. Wait, what? Where is it? Where is it? I don't even know where it is. Where's my realm gate thingy? Is this it? Oh. Oh, okay, I got it. Watch me like die on the way there. I guess I gotta go slow. This is the closest you're gonna see to me playing martial artist Twister right here, guys. The monk character playing Twisted. It's the closest you're gonna get. This footage right here. You can just kind of imagine this bell on my back right now. It's not the little skull shield, it's a bell. Stream died in F8. Wow, it's so much worse than it was. Wow, that's crazy. Alright. I'm gonna have to go back to the old setting. I'm sorry. I changed settings trying to fix my stream, and I apparently broke it instead. I'm seeing it now in the separate window. It's not working. No, it's not the internet. It's like GPU resource issues. The stream's not allowed to get any resources right now. The game is playing perfectly fine, by the way, on my end. Nah, these are some issues I've been having. I'm gonna have to test some stuff. I don't know what an old depreciated OBS encoder means. I'm using OBS, what is it, 32.1.2, whatever that is. I got one frenzy charge. I mean, alright, like... I think that would work pretty well, usually, but... Small ring. NVENC stuff? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. This, what I did is using this. I even changed the target frame rate, but stuff's not set like high or anything. Settings output. Oh, to advance. X264 in Vodacom? I don't know. I'll look into it. I appreciate it. Yeah. Whoops. Still lagging like crazy. What in the world? Alright, let's just get out of the game, because that is cringe to look at, I'm sure. Just to remind you guys, this was the result of the poll. 71% said Spirit Walker over Deadeye. So I asked you guys whether you think I should go Spirit Walker or Deadeye based on vibes, basically. Pretty much boiled down to that. Leech, sorry. Leech did not win. Even if it did, I wouldn't have gone Leech. But I think it's a cool build. Definitely concerned about its early game potential. What is your heart desire? I mean, I'm pretty much torn down the middle with it. I like the idea of trying the new thing. It's just, it's gonna be annoying if like around day 3 I'm like, man, I think Deadeye's better than this. But hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully this Spirit Walker is all it's cooked up to be. Hopefully. So, I think we'll just end the stream there. I'm getting kind of hungry. Get some food. I kind of want to try and make a video before the end of the day. I could probably do that. I could write some things in and talk about different stuff. Well, it'll be like a patch notes video. Let me kind of look, see here if we got any streamers to raid. There are some options. Oh yeah. Milky BK is back. Actually, for some stupid reason, I can't even open up my own chat. I can't chat into stream on Chrome right now. I think Chrome bricked my chat or something. Can your build do Sekima early? Because no one did Sekima Carry's Twister build yet. Yeah. Yeah, I can do Sekima early. You can definitely do that. It's a 7 TV. Really? Need to re-download it. Like, I have to actually pull this up in a different browser to do it. Okay, I'll look into that, I guess. You make a build guide for it? Well, I mean, I'm just gonna make a build guide for Twister build in general. I'm not gonna like... I'm not gonna be showcasing Twister carries. Like, that's not... I mean, it sounds cool and all, but that's not something that I'm... That's not like a major selling point of the build to me. I plan to come out with maybe like an uncut level 1 to maps thing, but I mean, that's not... Beyond that, that's not something I plan to do. Alright guys, we're rating Milky BK. Long time no see, right? Let's go find out what he's excited about. Martial artist, I'm sure. Probably wants to go, let me guess, Hollow Palm, martial artist, Falling Thunder, right? I'm sure that's right. Alright guys, I'm gonna be super busy tomorrow. The day after I'm also kind of busy, but probably maybe try to come on. We'll also need to make a bunch of videos, so streaming's gonna be a little tough in the next few days, but we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted on the Discord. Obviously, I'll be thinking a lot about the build. We're gonna plan to go Spirit Walker. Okay, that is the plan right now. I reserve the right to change my mind, but probably not going to. I tend not to change my mind on these things. If I did, it might have something to do with new updated patch notes. Like if GGG nerfed Spirit Walker into the ground 2 days from now or something. I don't know why they would do that, but, you know. Okay. Alright, guys. Thank you for watching. Enjoy Milky BK's stream on Twitch. If you're on YouTube, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.